Welcome to another episode of Just Vibing. I'm Arnav Sarkar here with Mackenzie Webb. Great connecting with you like from Twitter. I kind of wanted to expand my like footprint a little bit. Just let's talk about getting different guests on for like the Just Vibing series. Kind of like a little bit more personal, but also like with sports. Like last time I did a Just Vibing a couple of weeks ago, brought it back after a long time with my friend who's an Eagles fan, and me and him, we were in the band together at Rutgers, a marching band, so we like watched a lot of Rutgers games there, and that was like where my love for college sports started, and like it kicked off a lot of different like experiences for me, including being in sports radio and other areas of sports journalism, and so it's nice to like reconnect with him after all that time, and it'd been a few years, and he's into music, so he's like composing and stuff like that. So it was good and we also talked a lot about the Super Bowl, so that was like a fun little episode we did. I think both of us actually ended up picking against you're picking for the team that we weren't rooting for, because like I think we were just both scared of the other team. I was like, oh, the Eagles, and then he was like, oh, the Chiefs. It was like really funny, but I don't
Yeah.
like we'll talk about all of that in in a second. But obviously Eagles got the win, the revenge win or whatever. But I wasn't even really hating on it because they won by so much. Like it was kind of hard to like really complain and be like upset, even though I'm like a salty Giants fan, I guess. But regardless of that, like Eagles definitely won that. We'll get to that in a second. Obviously like we were talking about on Twitter, like and stuff like that. Obviously you kind of have like you have different experiences like within sports journalism and stuff like that, and then you said you wanted to go into nursing and like sports medicine. So if you could just like kind of just give like like kind of like the debrief on like how all of that kind of like happened, and like kind of what your plans are like going forward basically.
Right. So, hey everyone, my name is Mackenzie Webb. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. So, obviously, I'm a big Chiefs fan and I'm a little depressed, but it's
Yeah.
okay. But I went to the University of Missouri, Kansas City. So, it's right there in the middle of KC. And I was studying sports journalism. And I was 2 years into that. And then I actually switched my mind and I changed to nursing. But before that, I worked for a sports company called Living Sport. And I got to go to last year's Super Bowl, which was awesome because the Chiefs actually won that one.
Mhm.
So that was really cool. And then I went to the combine last year, which was cool to see. I went through UMKC, and so I was a sports writer there, and I would write stories about the basketball team. And then, they had sent me to look out for players at the combine. So that was really cool. So I really found love for sports growing up in Kansas City. I would always go to the Chiefs game, Royals games, and that's kind of where that started. And I was like, you know what? I really like sports. I want to do something with this. And I loved writing. So I was like,
Mhm.
sports journalism is perfect for that. So I did that for a while. I obviously still miss it and I try to still stay in the loop with sports things. I may do my podcast next season, but I'm still trying to figure things out. But the reason why I ended up switching to nursing was just because in journalism, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to be a sideline reporter or sports anchor, work for a local station, and then obviously work my way up. But I just felt like I wasn't getting 100% fulfilled. And I've always kind of wanted to do nursing, but I've never been the one to like science classes. So I was kind of scared for it. I was like, I don't know, it's hard. My sister's a nurse. And so I just didn't know. But then I kind of just took the leap of faith because I was like, you know what? I know that I'm capable of doing it. And I've really liked it so far, especially with UMKC's nursing school because all the hospitals are right there. And so it's really good. But yeah, I'm really sad after the loss, but it's okay. There's a lot. And that's why I like Kansas City too, is because we have so much going on with sports. With KC Current, the first women's stadium opening, Sporting KC, Royals.
Mhm.
Hopefully they can get into the playoffs again, but
Right.
we'll see about that. But that's just kind of how everything evolved growing up here.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That's like definitely kind of like, that's a good answer. It's kind of like what I was trying to basically ask you. But yeah, so like I mean in terms of like, like so you said you like yeah, obviously you did you were writing and you went to like the basketball games, and like and then
Mhm.
you went to the NFL. Like how did like that come about where you like went to the combine and like the Super Bowl and like stuff like that?
Yeah, so the Super Bowl was with a sports company called Living Sport, and they selected 50 students nationwide that are studying journalism, communications, sports management, anything in that category. And so they select 50 students to go, and then we were there for 2 weeks, I want to say, a little over 2 weeks. And then we were working with the NFL or with the Super Bowl host committee. And so we helped set up the stadium, get everything ready, kind of see how big game days can work. And so that was really cool for me to see because obviously everyone talks about the Super Bowl. It's the biggest game of the year, but to actually be there was just so surreal because just walking into the stadium and just thinking like, oh my gosh, I'm really here. I got to water the field, which was kind of cool. That was fun, the grass. But yeah, so we did that. And then with the combine, that was through my school. I would write stories. And so I was sent to kind of see any players that the Chiefs would have some looks for. And I actually wrote a story about Xavier Worthy. And it's kind of funny because I predicted him to be our first pick, and that kind of happened. So it was cool. And I really liked going there because I'd never been to a combine before. So it was kind of just cool to see how that worked too. But I was there for the quarterback, receiver, running back day. And then I think I was there for the O-line day. I don't know. But I kind of just watched how things happened, took some notes over players, what Kansas City could need, what could benefit them, and stuff like that. And then as far as like the basketball games and stuff, I was just there as a sports writer. I also would write for the UMKC cross country team too. So basketball, cross country, because UMKC unfortunately doesn't have a football team, which is very upsetting because football is my favorite sport to talk about, write about. But yeah, trying to think what else. That kind of cover it, what you asked?
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah. I was just like looking up UMKC, like their basketball team. Seems like they're like in the Summit League, I think. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Yeah. Right now they're playing against Omaha, so that's cool. But no, yeah, I mean, no, that does sound cool. I mean, like definitely like a cool experience. I think one of my other friends was from Rutgers, I think, who works in like marketing or like something like that, like had a similar thing where she went to Super Bowl and stuff like that. So I was like talking to her about that. So I was like, yeah, probably something like similar based on what you said. But you know, in terms of like you also said like you're like you did like sideline reporting and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I actually did sideline reporting for the Kansas City Men's Senior Baseball League, and I did that in the 2023 season. Yeah, so and I really liked that. I had a great time doing that. And for those of you who don't know, because it's not very popular, it's just an older league for baseball, and it's fun to watch. Some of them are in their 60s, so it's fun for me. But it was kind of just fun because I got my feet in the water and I was just kind of seeing what that was about. So I did that. And then for the UMKC basketball team, and then aside from the sideline reporting side of things, I did a podcast with one other person last season and then the season before that. And we would do lives every Wednesday. We preview the following game, and then we would do it on the Monday following the game.
Right.
And so that was really cool. And I got to connect with a lot of people through that because we like to have some guests too and just kind of see, because I feel like the sports media world, there's a lot of people who have Chiefs podcast. And so it's kind of cool to just get involved with that and get connected with new people because, there's so many. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool about the podcast. So you kind of did like a preview episode and then like a recap. That's cool. Yeah, I mean that's, I mean like I kind of like I try to do the same, but like I mean I guess like because the thing is I was kind of like at Rutgers Radio, so we kind of like covered Rutgers in great detail, and we had a talk show, and we also do like play-by-play color sideline. Some people do that too, so like I have like friends and like doing all this stuff, and I was part of that when I was doing it too. But I guess because of that, like I try to like go like broader with my podcast, and I kind of did the same thing. I made it very like football oriented like for the past season. And I would also do like recap some previews, I guess, but it would be like for the entire league. It would be like I think I used to have my friends do it, so we used to do like we used to try to do every game, but it got a little chaotic. So then when I kind of started doing it by myself, I kind of just ended up just. I mean, yeah, I'll still kind of do every game, or I do all the big ones at least. And then for college football, I became like a huge college football nut. Like probably in some ways, I would say I even like it more than the NFL. It's debatable.
Really? Yeah, I feel like a lot of people say that, and surprisingly, I don't follow college football that well, and I want to start really getting into it because then going to the combine and make it easier.
Yeah, you'll
because
know the
I
players
have
in
to,
there, right?
read everything, yeah, and kind of teach myself, the weeks before that. But yeah, I kind of want to start getting into that.
I think it does help. The thing is, like, I was always a big, like, like NFL guy. Like, I'm a professional sports fan. I was never really into college. Like, I guess kind of like what you're saying. But like, until I got into like, being in the Rutgers marching band, I think that really turned it for me because I was kind of forced to be there, like, because we played and not forced to be there, but I mean, the team wasn't all that great, like, to be on early on. But they've come like a ways. Like, they're actually like half decent now. Like, I don't know if you know anything, but Greg Schiano, like,
I know Pacheco's from there.
Huh?
Did Pacheco play there?
Yes,
when
he
you
did.
were there?
Yeah, he's our
Really?
guy. He's our
Cool.
guy. So, and the thing I love to tell people is like how he runs hard and like stuff like that. He ran like that at Rutgers. Like we saw it. Like that's how he ran. That's probably why he got even though it was the 7th round, like he got drafted there because he played like out of his skin, and he also came from a personal background where there was a lot of like tragedy and stuff like that. I don't know if you know, but he lost his brother and sister, and like he didn't come from the best neighborhood, but he was able to overturn a lot of that. And also he played for his brother and sister. He played for the state, the university, and Rutgers. Like coming from kind of like underdog status, he then he came to Kansas City. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire got injured. He ended up getting in the starting role, and then obviously this year he got injured. Kareem Hunt kind of took that starting job away, but he's definitely a great option to have in the backfield. I mean, hopefully he gets back into that number 1 or number 2 role. I feel like we'll get into that football stuff. I feel like the running game was a little bit like missing, but yeah, I mean he's from there. But Rutgers football, the band, the radio, like all of that got me into college football. And then I'd come home and from game day and I'd start watching like the good games. And I guess because I already had the professional interest like in sports, like a lot of my band friends didn't, but like since I kind of had that, I was able to kind of like shift it towards, I was like, oh, this is what college football is like all about. And then I started watching and also like the pageantry. I think like the thing about college football that makes it a little bit different from the NFL is like the pageant, like the band and like the fight songs and I feel like Kansas City, like the Chiefs probably have more of like a tough environment than a lot of like compared to like MetLife's just like your average stadium. Like the Chiefs, like the Seahawks, like even like I could say the Eagles, but like obviously their fans are notorious for like all sorts of things. But I mean that's like a tough place to play. But I'd say Kansas City's right up there. Obviously they have the whole chant and everything, and like, I feel like that's like an imposing place. So, but I feel like college football, there's a lot of that, whether it's SEC, whether it's the Big Ten, even at a place like Rutgers where college football isn't all that big relatively. Like even there's like tailgates, there's this, there's that, there's people come hours before. So like that whole thing like rubbed off on me that it's like, oh, this is bigger than just your it's bigger than the Chiefs or the Giants. It's like you're part of the whole thing. So like that, I guess that vibe rubbed off on me, and it's just like excitement. I don't know how to explain it, but there's just something about college football I definitely recommend if like getting into, especially like you said, also for in terms of the college it definitely then the players going into the league too, like that it could help with that. But it's just a really fun sport. I mean, the thing is, like, I don't know, for some reason I started like hating on Michigan because like a lot of their fans show up to Rutgers games and stuff because a lot of them are from New Jersey. But then I became like a big Ohio State guy, and they just won like that's like my second like team now in a way in college. So they won the chip, and I was kind of joking that like if the Chiefs won, I could go 2 for 2 with like Ohio State and Kansas City. It's like my backup squads, but it didn't quite happen. It's like I would have been elite. But anyway, that's kind of like how that. But that's cool though, like about all the experiences and like the different things like your podcast and like I mean you can definitely connect with people, and then also like writing like I think one of the main things I'm trying to get into is like sports writing. Like I feel like that's like I enjoy talking and doing the podcast, but I feel like I put my thoughts on a paper like pretty well. So I'm trying to look for jobs like within that industry, like and I write for like a site called Sports Radio America. So they kind of cover like they cover like like I think anyone can kind of like join it. It's like a college internship kind of thing, but it's kind of like my podcast. Like they let you they like let you write on your own time whenever you want about whatever you want. So I was kind of getting my Rutgers stuff from like the radio, and then like my podcast and my writing was like, oh, I'll just, I'll still look at Rutgers and I'll look at my local teams. And I've written about the Giants. I've talked about the Giants, but and Rutgers and my own teams. But I love to like take a national look at it. And I've written like, pieces about the Super Bowl. I've written like whatever I've gotten, like whatever I wanted to. So like, it's convenience, like on your own time. Like, there's no pressure.
Of everything. And also another thing with sports journalism and why I liked it so much too is and I know that we kind of talked about this, but there's just so many different routes you can go, whether it's sports marketing, sports journalism, sports reporting. Like there's so many different things that you can do in sports. And so that's why it's cool. It's also free to have a podcast to talk about all sports. I think that that's great too, because obviously just having one, like how I was doing with the Chiefs, I know that my audience was really just Chiefs fans or Kansas City in general. And it's nice to have a little bit of everything because you're attracting more people essentially from all around.
Yeah. Just out of curiosity, like what's your like I know you said you don't really do the podcast anymore, but what's that what's your podcast like call?
So it was called Chiefs Chat Live with Mackenzie Webb and Thunder Dan. And it was on YouTube. I don't know. We had taken it down. I don't know if it's still on there because for some reason YouTube hated us and a bunch of videos kept going down for no reason.
Oh boy.
But the one that I'm kind of transitioning is going to be called the 142.2 show with Mackenzie Webb. So if anyone wants to look out for that, that's what mine's going to be called. Because if I do it next season, I'm going to do it alone and not have a partner.
Yeah. When there's like 142.2, like does that mean something?
That's a decibel. That's how loud Arrowhead got, and so that's the significance behind it. Because
I like that. That's so cool. Like that's exactly what I was talking about with like college stadiums. Like like if you've ever heard like, and that's what I was also trying to make the comparison to Kansas City and Seattle and like some of those places because they can get loud. Like I don't know about like MetLife or whatever, but like some of those stadiums, that's like you probably know like what a college game would be more like based on going to Chiefs games.
Yeah,
like,
Arrowhead is loud.
Yeah. No, it's.
Have you ever been to Arrowhead?
I have not. I've never been out there.
You have to come. It's just such a cool experience. Just
I should go because I like the team too. So like I don't feel out of place.
The only thing is when they keep we didn't win this year, but I was gonna say when we keep winning these Super Bowls, the tickets keep going up. It's expensive.
I'll have to make the trip out and visit.
It's really cool.
It's on the bucket list.
One earlier in the season before it gets cold. I went to the game last year and the one against Miami where it was like one of the coldest games.
I remember watching that.
I was freezing.
The water bottles are freezing. I saw the videos.
5 layers on. I had 3 pairs of gloves, but I left at halftime. I just couldn't. I was so miserable. I could not do it, but it was cool to be there. There was this one guy he had no shirt on and he was super wasted. And I was like, you are going to get frostbite. He didn't have any gloves on.
Fans always like do that. It's like the weirdest, like they always like try to be like macho and this and that. And like, I'm like they're okay afterwards, but
Right. Yeah, I don't really. I mean, cold games are sometimes fun to go to, but I'm more of like
I've been to a few like with the band, but I like the warm. I like the cool breeze. Like I was just talking about this in one of my classes earlier, but like there's something about the cool breeze of like a fall game day, and like it just feels nice, right? Like exactly. It's like football's back, and it's exciting. Like, and I get energy from being around so many people that enjoy it, whether it's radio or whether it's like broadcasting or just watching it or being in the band, like or just seeing the fans tailgate and like they're up and like I'm like, well, I gotta get myself together because I might be tired, but I have to put on a show today. So like that kind of like got me inspired to be like, if they're willing to do it, like and once I got there and like the whole band had a vibe of like, oh, it's game day, we're gonna perform, we're gonna play, we're gonna watch the team, even if the teams wasn't all that great at the time, but it was still fun. Like it's like a whole experience, and like it just brings people together, and I think that's like the beauty of sports in a way too. And like I guess you can in music too, I guess, like since I was band, but like both of those two things, like I think they really bring people together, and it's just fun. It's like an escape, and it's a community. That's like the thing about college. But no, that's definitely cool that you like had a lot of like you wrote and you did like different things like sideline and like,
Yeah.
yeah, a bunch of different experiences, the podcast. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure like, I'll probably be doing the podcast like next season. Like, I don't know what I'm gonna do like now. Like, yeah, I do try to cover all sports, but like I've
Mhm.
really honed in on football like a lot. Now that that's over, I'm not too. I'm probably gonna do off like less often episodes, but I'll definitely talk about the major stuff like when the NBA Stanley Cup playoffs come around, when March Madness comes around. I'll probably, I might have guests. I might, just I'll keep it going. But yeah, I mean, if you
Right.
ever like, need a guest for your, your podcast, like definitely be,
Yeah.
willing to like jump in for that. But we could talk
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, but I mean, we could you plan that like later down the road, like
Mhm.
next football season. But yeah,
Yeah.
so anyway, that I guess that's kind of like the just vibing part, like the personal part that I don't know. It's like kind of
Yeah.
like it's been like my vision, like when I started this series, to have people on to like share their like experiences in life and
Yeah.
sports. A lot of it, like there's usually a sports tie-in because like it's a sports podcast, and a lot of my
Right.
friends are like they've been in sports in some form or fashion, and like you said, like
Mhm.
there's like so many different ways of getting in the industry and different experiences, and so
Exactly.
obviously, like, it's nice to like, share like, mine and yours, and like kind of like, see what you've been doing, what I've been doing. So, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely good to talk about all of that and kind of get like a read on that. But yeah, I mean, so I guess, shifting over to the big game with the Chiefs and the Eagles. I know, like,
Yes.
maybe you might not want to talk about that, but I kind of wanted to like,
Yeah.
it's so funny, because my friend that I was talking about, like, who's an Eagles fan, he was kind of like, oh, like if they get blown out, like I might not want to talk about it, but if it's a close game, like I'll talk about it. And I was like, yeah, I mean, kind of same here, like, like I think he, I was gonna have him back, but he kind of got busy. But like, in terms of like, I did kind of want to have like a real like Chiefs fan, like I think that was another part of
Yeah.
the whole thing, but like rather than like, I mean, I'll vouch for the Chiefs, especially when they play the Eagles, but I'm not like a real like Chiefs fan. So I wanted to, I guess, get your, I mean, how long have you like, I guess, been you've seen like the Chiefs when they were bad. So like what was it, what's it been like for you that you've seen them bad and you've seen them grow into a giant? You're not like a bandwagon fan or anything, like,
No.
so do you like
No.
feel like you like deserve the rewards of it because you were like a loyal
Yeah.
Kansas City fan?
Yeah, I think that it's awesome, and that's why I've just loved seeing the evolution of the Chiefs because it hasn't been pretty. There's been so many losing seasons, and so that's why it's so frustrating that there's so many people that hate the Chiefs and we become the villains. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like we have gone here through all the hard work that Patrick Mahomes has put into this team. And as unfortunate as the Super Bowl was, for my personal experience, my take on it is even though obviously I was upset that they lost because they had so much on the line, they were about to be the first ever
I
team to
know.
three-peat,
Yeah.
and it was like a perfect storyline. They had a great season, really only one loss, despite the one they played against the Broncos where the starters weren't playing. But everything just seemed to be going well. And I know people kept saying they keep finding ways to win. And that was true. And as much as people want to say, oh, the refs help them out every time, no, that's a good football team, and they had reasons behind winning and winning. So my take on it is I'm just so proud that we were even in that position. And I mean, I was upset for a little bit, but then looking back, I'm like, we are in the third Super Bowl in a row. Mahomes
Right.
has got us to 5 Super Bowls. And it's like all of these AFC championships, all these playoffs games we've been in, winning the AFC West for what is it now, 8 years in a row, 8 seasons. Like there's just so much to be proud of. And so a Super Bowl loss, yeah, it sucks, but it's like, I mean, to even be in the Super Bowl, a lot of people can't even say that their team reached the Super Bowl that year. And so obviously it was kind of embarrassing. And I know that we'll get into that, but I just think that there's a lot of different things that I, for myself, can take from the actual game and kind of why I feel certain ways about their performance. I don't know if you want
Mm.
me to talk about that yet or not, or if we'll get into that.
Um, yeah, just we could in just a second. I just want to ask like one more question, but
Yeah, yeah,
oh no, like I know there's like Taylor Swift's been like a big thing with you guys too. Like, are you
yeah.
personally like a Swiftie? Like, what's your whole take on that? Like, I've heard
Okay,
people say
so
it's annoying. I've heard people say I like it. I don't really mind it, to be honest with you. I'm not a Swiftie, but I don't mind it. Like, what's
yeah,
your take?
I'm not a Swiftie. I do like Taylor Swift. I don't listen to a lot of her music, but I have all of my respect to her and for her and Travis. I
Yeah.
think that they're really cute, and I honestly hope that they get married. I know in
Yeah.
the beginning, everyone was like, oh my gosh, they keep showing her. This is so annoying. I get that, but at the same time, she wasn't asking to be shown.
Exactly.
Like, that
Yeah.
was the
No,
people
you're
on the
right about that.
broadcast.
Yeah.
So it's like it wasn't necessarily her fault, but I think the way that everyone was booing her at the Super
That
Bowl,
was a bit
that's
much, I feel
Philly
like.
fans for you. But I have a lot of
Yeah.
respect for her. And even living in Kansas City, there are so many Taylor Swift like merch out and t-shirts of her and Travis, and there's a lot of Taylor, but I think that Kansas City really embraces it well, and for the most part everyone loves her here. Of course there's going to be some people that still don't like the idea of that, but honestly it's been nothing but benefiting the NFL and money and sales and stuff like that, so I don't
Sure.
have a problem with it. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's, yeah, I mean, I see what people say. Like, it was annoying at first, I guess. Like, I mean, not really
Yeah,
annoying, but like, I see why people said it was like, they kept showing her, but like, that's not really her fault. And it also,
right.
like, it grew the game because, like, so many, like, girls and women, like, started following, like, football that never did. And, like, I feel like that's a beautiful thing that, like, us guys, we could, like, teach them, like, the game too. Like, we can, like, and people who just weren't into football in general, like, like, they kind of got into it and it became like a whole thing. And then I feel like this season hasn't been such a big deal. But I mean, she got kind of like, booed at the Super Bowl, but whatever. I mean, like,
Yeah.
Eagles
Yeah, I
fans
don't think they
are
really
whatever.
showed her that much. I feel like they
Yeah.
maybe did at least one time or maybe a clip of her walking into the stadium, but besides that, I don't think they really did that much.
I don't think so either. I mean, I didn't really see much of her. I didn't really see much of like Donald Trump either. Like, I know he was at the game, so it was just
Yeah.
mostly on the football. But yeah, so I mean it's cool. It's probably different for you that you were like kind of a loyal fan. Like, you saw the whole eras when they
Right.
were bad, and the Alex Smith
Right.
era, Mahomes, and like kind of what they
Yeah.
became. And it's kind of like with me
Mhm.
and like the Nets, I guess. Like, I kind of felt like, they, even though they didn't really succeed, but they became a super team for a little while. And I was like, but I've been a fan since they were in New Jersey. Like, it's different. Like, you can't call me a bandwagoner. Like, if they win a championship, I'm gonna
Right.
celebrate it because that's my team. Like, I'm from, a lot of people are Knicks fans in the area, and I like them too. I mean, well, it's kind of weird. It's a weird rivalry between us, but I mean,
Yeah.
I supported the Knicks last playoffs. Like, I like them over like Philly teams. Like, I was like all down for that. But I'm a Nets fan, and there's not too many of us. But the ones that are there, like, stay loyal. Like, we're rebuilding. But it was
My
fun when
dad
they
is a
became
huge
good.
Mets fan, oddly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I
Yes.
don't know too many from like
And
out
it's
the area,
funny
especially.
because my dad is also the biggest Chiefs hater. I
Oh,
don't
really?
even know why. And so, yes, it's so weird
I'm
because I'm
sure
like,
he
you
was happy,
literally live in Kansas City, you have a great football team, and you
right?
just don't even care. But
I
my
know.
sister, she's also a Bengals fan. Well, she doesn't really watch football, it's mostly for Joe Burrow. But it's
Mm-hmm.
funny, every time that there's a game, she'll wear a Joe Burrow shirt. And
Oh,
she's
we're
just, I hate the Chiefs. I'm like, ugh, whatever.
honestly, yeah, I like Joe Burrow. Like, I feel like he's cool, but like, I mean, I'd always like, yeah, I respect like that the Bengals are kind of one of the few teams that kind of like, at least be competitive and like figured like they've
Mhm.
done better than the Bills, they've done better than the Ravens. Like, say what you want, but they just start seasons too slow. I'm sure it's like annoying, like, but they gave the Chiefs a good fight. Yeah.
Right.
And then, okay, why don't we like I guess before we like shift to the games, like you kind of said something about like how the Chiefs, they've been getting, yeah, I mean, we all know they've been getting some favorable calls, and I don't, it's not like they've been cheating or anything, but I could see like why people say that. But they also have been winning a lot of close games, and I guess for someone who like myself, who like I'm kind of like more on the casual side, like I usually I root for the Chiefs to hate on the Eagles, and like it's happened a couple times, so like it's become like it's been fun because like I have some Philly friends, and I've been like, oh, Chiefs, the Chiefs are gonna beat them, and I don't care about the Giants. So it's like it became a whole funny thing that I did,
Yeah.
but with that being said, like, I mean, like with them winning all those games in close fashion, I was like, oh my God, like, is this team even really like that kind of, that feeling got to me. And I was like, it's like, oh, like the defense is really good. I do respect them a lot, but the offense is kind of just like, it's a different guy every game. And then they block a kick. But I mean, part of it is like, for me, I'm like, well, that is still football. Like, you might not like it that they won by blocking a kick, but that's still part of the game. And maybe they do the little things right. And maybe that's why they are good. Is that kind of like what you were trying to say? Like, do you think like that also
Yeah.
makes them like good? Like, even if it's not pretty, like that they are able to win
Yeah.
in ugly games.
And I think it's also a lot of it, it's like it's very impressive. Like you said, the blocked field goals. it's like little things like that where they're finding ways to win. I took it as that's great coaching, and it's great for the team that they're able to get themselves in that position to turn around the football game. Because going back to last season or the season before that, whenever we won the Super Bowl, whenever we had Kadarius Toney and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, everyone was dropping the ball.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's so interesting, because we had an offense that was struggling all year. We were not winning that many football games because they could not hold on to it. And then comparing that season to now this season, where it seemed like they had fixed the issues with the offense, getting Hollywood Brown and Xavier Worthy and DeAndre Hopkins. And it's just, that's why I said it kind of seemed too good to be true, because we have all these explosive weapons on offense, but it's like, how do we actually execute that on the field? And they just couldn't really do that in the Super Bowl. But it's interesting to see, because I just feel like Mahomes has been able to work with a lot of different football teams. Because looking back to the first Super Bowl win that Mahomes has, when we had Tyreek Hill, that was a fun team to watch, because we were seeing all those deep balls. And then now, kind of like you mentioned, it's a new guy every week, whoever's going to step up. And I think that there's a lot of good things about that, because it's like, Kelsey's going to show up in times that are needed. And then you have Xavier Worthy going down the field. But it's like consistency has just kind of been the thing that has been lacking a little bit this season. Obviously, with Rice being out, that was something major. But I don't know. I think that it just really goes back to these close games. It's like that should have prepared them for the huge game. Obviously it didn't, but I looked at that in a good way of, wow, if it's, special teams showing up or the defense, I just feel like there's been all sides of the ball have kind of been able to do something great every game. And it's been so different. And you're not seeing just a Chiefs team with, like Kelsey having big games every week. That hasn't happened. Obviously, his stats have been a little bit down, and everyone's saying he's done, he's too old, all of that. But it's like, it's really interesting to see, because sorry, my dogs are barking. My sister just, but it's like, I don't know. They're finding ways to win. There's different players that can step up every week, and there's pros and there's cons to that. And
I agree with that. Yeah.
I wish that we did have a little bit more consistency. Obviously, we'll see what Kelsey does, if he retires or not. In my opinion, I think he's going to have at least one more season. I really do. I don't think that he's going to go out like that. I feel like he wants to go out on top. But yeah, I hope that we're able to kind of find that, because I hate, as a Chiefs fan, watching these close games where I'm on the edge of my seat.
Me too. Like, I'd support the Chiefs, but I was like, I'm not going to defend them winning 18. I'm not going to defend their offense winning 18-15. Like, I know that's like a made up score that I just made up, but that's what it felt like. I'm like, I'm not going to like vouch for them against people who don't like them and say like, oh, they're really good. No, they're like, let me say that they're not. I mean, maybe for you, like you since you're like really a Chiefs fan, maybe you'd not take that stance, but like I'd be like, I'll fry them when I feel like they deserve it, but when they also play well, I'll be like, yeah, no, those are the Chiefs. Like, and there's also been a feeling of the Chiefs are the Chiefs, and no matter what they do, they're gonna win. And then I think that took a whole new leap this year, because at least like 2 years ago their offense was really good. Last year their defense was really good. This year it was like kind of like the defense was also really good again this year, I would say. But the offense was kind of like you said, a different player every game, and Worthy was kind of like. Worthy played pretty good, like at times, and like one game was Kelsey, and one game it was this guy, and one game was that guy. Mahomes, I think, and Kelsey were often like sometimes like Kelsey's the security blanket. Sometimes it's the run game, sometimes it's the defense, sometimes it's a block kick, sometimes it's a penalty. It's just like it was the most random. Like even for like people who didn't even think there was a conspiracy, people are like starting to think like, are we sure about that? Like it was. Like,
I know people said it was the Taylor voodoo or something.
Yeah, the Tay voodoo. Yeah, I mean, people said that. Like I don't know. It was just getting ridiculous. Like the block kick thing, I was just like, oh my god. Like there's
when I was watching that game, I was like, there's no way, because I was so mad. I was like, we're really about to lose
to the Broncos.
First loss of the season. And then it happened, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, no, it's like I feel like this season has been, obviously the defense has really showed up, but yeah, as far as the offense goes, it's a few short passes here and there, sometimes some balls, but I really miss Mahomes when he would just sling it all the way down the field like that throw to Worthy in the Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
burning the
Like, I
defense.
miss those throws. I
Yeah, like,
miss
the Chiefs haven't even looked like the fun Chiefs that we used to see, like, in a couple of years. This season, it was all short passes, this and that, like, the run game never really got off the ground either. I mean, Hunt was pretty alright, I would say. Pacheco got injured, but
that
the pass game
Kareem,
was a bit, like
he did a good job. I feel like, I don't know if some people feel this way too, but I felt like after Pacheco came back from his injury, he was just kind of offbeat. I don't know what it was, but he
yeah,
wasn't
he definitely
putting up
was.
what he
I don't know what happened.
usually
He was, like,
doing.
not his usual self. Maybe the injury
Mhm.
affected him. He wasn't he's
Right.
like I said, he runs hard. Like, he's not like a finesse runner, but he's like a power runner,
Yeah.
but there wasn't much of that, either, and, Hunt was, like, pretty decent, I would say. Like, a lot of times he got, like, 50 yards and a touchdown, like, maybe, like, more than that, like, in a
Yeah,
touchdown.
I was just really happy for him, for his story of him coming back, because
Yeah,
obviously
after what
situation
happened.
happened.
Yeah.
That's why I
Mhm.
really wanted him to get a ring, because I was like, that would just be awesome. But I think that he'll have a few more years with the Chiefs. I don't
I think
know.
so. I don't think he's going anywhere. Like, I think they need to retain Hunt, Pacheco. I think they need to get they need like some more. I don't know, like with the free agency. Well, why don't we
Mhm.
like talk about the game and like your thoughts on like what kind of went wrong? Because I know you said you had
Yeah.
those. Like, go
Yes.
for it.
Yeah. So obviously, I mean, I think a lot of people can say it was the O line, no
Hmm.
protection on Mahomes. I
Yeah.
think it was like what
True.
they had 6 sacks on Mahomes. That's not good. If you don't have protection, you're not
Right.
going to win a Super Bowl. And that's exactly
Exactly.
what happened in the game that we lost against Tampa Bay. And that's why I kind of had that feeling when I was watching, because whenever we just weren't scoring, I was like, this feels exactly like that game. Because the
Yeah,
thing about
that's
the
what I
Chiefs,
was thinking too. It's like it feels like
yeah.
Tampa Bay all over again. Like, what is
Yeah,
going on? Like,
exactly. Right, and I mean, a lot of it starts with the O-line, and then if you look at last year's Super Bowl, they let 0 sacks, and I
right.
remember they wore 0 sack shirts to the Super
Oh
Bowl
yeah,
parade.
against the Eagles,
So,
right?
I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
That was obviously an issue, but I think just overall, I'm the type of person where I don't wanna put just one thing on one group of people,
Right.
because I think overall it's the whole team. But I feel like they just couldn't find that explosiveness, and when the whole team can't find that momentum, then it's just not gonna happen, because when they were
Mhm.
down 24 to nothing at the half, obviously being down 3 touchdowns and a field goal, you're like, "Well, are we really gonna be able to come back from this?" But I felt like it wasn't nearly impossible, but it's like that first drive coming back from that, and then just kinda seeing that they still couldn't find that momentum, and if they just can't get anything going, you obviously can't come back 30 something to 0, like, it's just not gonna
Yeah, no,
happen.
that's not gonna happen, yeah, I agree.
Obviously, Mahomes can't do anything if he's getting sacked
Yeah,
or he's
and
getting
pressured and
pressured.
fit and
Right,
everything.
right. In the run game, we couldn't get that
I
going, and
know,
I
that was a big
always
problem too.
yeah, I'm like, if we can't run the ball, then we can't win a football game. And that was the whole storyline last season, is whenever we were
Mhm,
actually running the ball, we were winning.
right.
And so that was unfortunate. And then how Mahomes was connecting with Worthy, if that would have happened sooner, if they would have found that momentum and being able to actually get those passes down the field, that would have worked out for them. But I'm just like, what exactly was their game plan? Because Andy Reid is a great coach. And I just truly don't think that they expected the Eagles defense to put up the game that they
No,
did.
I don't think
Because if
anyone
you
did,
woulda
that's the problem, but
yeah, if you would have told me that Saquon would have had, what was it, like 57
57 rushing
yards?
yards and
If he
40
would have
in
had
the air, but
57
yeah.
rushing yards, 40 to 22, I wouldn't have believed you. Like, it just
Yeah.
seems so I think that, one of our huge key points in our game plan was obviously to shut down the run
Mhm.
and shut down
Right, they
Saquon
did that,
part. Right, but it's like, we can shut that down, but we
but what
still
about
have
the
to be
passing?
able to put up some points.
That too, and
Right,
the
and
offense is just nowhere to be
yeah.
found,
Right, right, I felt like no one was really open, and then the big drops, Kelsey had a drop,
Mhm,
DeAndre
2,
Hopkins
yeah.
had that huge
Oh my
drop where
god,
he
he was open. That could have maybe swung some momentum in their
yeah,
direction, at least, like
yeah, but that was huge, that was so costly, and then obviously the turnovers, throwing those interceptions, and
yeah,
then they
those are
didn't
very
even get into the
you
red zone until, like, the 3rd quarter, and
yeah,
so
it
they
was
just could
embarrassing,
not
like,
yeah, it
the strip
was.
mall.
We couldn't get down the field, and another thing that's embarrassing is this was the most watched Super Bowl, and
Oh,
so
okay.
120 something million people saw that, but Kelsey said in the press conference after the game, he said, "I just think it's crazy because we haven't played that bad all year," and
I
that's
know, that's
true.
the worst part, like, like, that they didn't
Yeah,
right?
and yeah, it wasn't a game that they were gonna actually be able to turn around and come back into it. And I know they did it a few years ago when they were down 24-0 in the divisional round against the Texans.
Right,
So
right.
that's why I still kind of had hope. And I'm a little
And
bit
they always fall
delusional.
behind, sorry. And they always fall
Yeah.
behind like 10-0 and in the
Yeah,
last
exactly.
and they came back from that. But 17-0, that's when I
Yeah.
knew like the not Blankenship, Cooper DeJean interception pick six. That's when I was like, oh boy, you know what I mean? And then
That was
24-0, and then the drop, and then like
sad.
I was just like 17-0, I knew it was kind of overish. I mean, I didn't want to like give up at that point, but I was just like,
Right.
after that, I was just like, you know what? Like, if the Eagles win, like they're the better team. I'm like, I kind of like, as much as I like, sometimes I like, I'm a Giants fan, so I'm like screaming at the TV, like when the Commanders
Yeah.
started losing. I'm like, I'm rooting for you guys once, and like this is how you like. I was upset that game because they fumbled 3 times, and that was frustrating. I'm like, I'm never rooting for Washington again. Like they're done. I know they're a fun
I
team.
was
I
so
like Jane
mad.
Daniels. I was upset because I
Yeah.
was just like, I like Washington enough that like I'll support them over Philly, and then they do
Right.
this, and then but the Chiefs was like not even like they weren't even in the game. Like at least Washington put up a good fight and lost. Like the Chiefs just like the O-line situation. Like I had to do research as to why that exactly went bad because like I was like, oh, they switched their left tackle a few times,
Yeah.
and then they brought in Tooney, and he actually
Yeah.
did a decent job at that spot, even though he's a natural left guard. But in the Super Bowl, he got exposed. Then Mike Caliendo slides into right tackle, he gets exposed, and then the other guys get exposed too. I think the only guy who had a good blocking grade was Creed Humphrey, the center, who's like one of the
Yep.
top centers, and I think Trey Smith, he's supposed to be pretty good. I don't think he had a great
Yeah.
Super Bowl, but I know they want to keep him and Humphrey. But the rest of the O line, I know like Sumatia, he got injured. Like there's been like a lot of changes with that. A few different guys got injured, so it's
Yeah.
just like somehow
I
like
think
it just
Von
came.
Taylor has to go.
Me too. Because you know why? Because he always, it's not even it's the false starts.
Oh my
He
gosh.
false starts like once every game. And I'm just like, I know it's him. I don't even, like, I see the flag and I'm like, Jawan Taylor, like, I just know it. And it frustrates me so much. I'm like,
Yeah,
how
and
do you, like,
it's
do that
funny.
every game?
Right, right. There was one time where Mahomes got so mad about it and they showed him, and I think he was like, he had yelled at him or something, but he
Oh,
was like,
really?
oh my God, because like, how does this keep
I
happening?
know, it's like,
How
and
have
he
we
takes like a
not
step
corrected it?
before the entire, it's not like incidental. It's like
Yeah,
I know he's trying to get a lead on the guy, but like it's just so bad. And then there's holding penalties and there's this. And I'm just like, man, like this guy's supposed to be like an all pro. Like, didn't they sign him in free agency to like address the O line? And like it just like that's what he's doing. It's like I
yeah.
see the penalty on the field, a flag, and I'm like, I was literally watching the first Chiefs game, like at the like wherever I was like with my friend, and I was
Mhm.
like, I saw the penalty, and I was like, it's Jawan Taylor. He's like, how did you know that? I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't know
he
because he does it like every game. I'm like, you know what I mean? He does it every time. So it's just frustrating, man. And like,
it
he's
is
not even the best
frustrating.
blocker either. So like, it's just,
No.
Jawan Taylor, man. Like, anyway, that's enough about the O line. And the other stuff is like the receivers. Like, I mean, well,
Mhm.
Kelsey, like he had some bad drops. He kind of gets away with like taunting sometimes. It's kind of funny, but then like, and then he has to pay the fine later. And like, I don't
Yeah,
know. I never hated. Sorry, I never like hated Kelsey or anything, but it's just I didn't like his attitude in that game. He was like standing around. He wasn't blocking. He wasn't catching passes. Maybe he dropped a couple, and Mahomes also threw them low. But why are you like trying to push the Eagles around like that are bigger than you after you basically did nothing the whole? I was like upset. I was like, what are you like doing? Like I know he was emotional and whatever, but I was just like, you didn't do anything like the entire game, and you're trying to talk trash, and you're not even doing a good job of that. You're you're like shoving these bigger guys, and they're not moving. I'm like, as much as I hate the Eagles, I'm like, good. Like don't take that kind of like trash talk because it's not even good trash talk. Like you didn't do anything the whole game. He's just trying to shove them. I was just not having it like at that
yeah.
point.
Well, and Kelsey said after the game too, he was like, and why he's considering this being his last season because he's like, I can't even show up in these big moments like this because usually he's able to be a leader and kind of get
Yeah,
the
he's
team
very
going
fiery. He has a good
mindset.
personality. I've never had any complaints. Like I know people say whatever about
Mhm.
him, but like I've never but that game was just it was. And the thing is, like they took Kelsey out of the game. Well, they didn't really take him, but like nothing was going on offense. But it's the Bills game. Like they took Kelsey out of the game, and the receivers like there was so many other. Wait, am I saying? The Texans, Kelsey had kind of a big game, and that was kind of his statement, like I'm
Yeah.
back game. And then the Bills are like, oh, we shut down Kelsey, and we're gonna figure it out. And the thing about the Bills game was like, if there's ever a year for them to beat the Chiefs, it's probably this one. But sure enough, the Chiefs win because they're inevitable. And I'm like, oh, they'll probably just do the same thing to the Eagles, like they're inevitable. And also they played their best game of the season against Buffalo on offense and probably even defense in a way too. And it was like their offense scored more than 30 for the first time. Philly's not putting 55 up
Yes.
on them, no way. they might put up 30. So even if the Chiefs do lose, it's going to be like a close. There's no way they're going to get blown out. Even though I predicted the Eagles to win, I was like, they're not going to blow them out. But
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was
know.
thinking maybe like a field goal, maybe a touchdown away.
Yeah,
My score prediction was way off.
my prediction was like Philly 31-28, but it was just nowhere close. Like I feel like I was like one of the few people even sided with the Eagles, like even though I don't like them or whatever. But like I was like, look, I mean, they have like 2 years ago, maybe it was debatable. You could argue Philly might have had the better roster, but Kansas City was right there with them. This time, like Saquon Barkley in the run game, I was like, that's huge. Are they going to be able to stop the run? Like we talked, but like I was like, how are they gonna? Like I know they stopped everyone, but he's a different beast. But they honed in on him. They stacked the box. But then what happened is Hurts just started throwing it to his receivers, and it's like the Chiefs basically they're Spagnuolo, he's like the master of the blitz, and obviously we had him as a defensive coordinator in New York for a while, but it's like he brings the pressure, but it's like when they even picked off Hurts in the game, but like when the time they didn't bring pressure, like when they didn't bring pressure, there was just like nothing on them. Like the Eagles are rushing four and bringing Mahomes down, but when the Chiefs were like trying to there were soft spots in the zone, the receivers were beating them in man, there was like no pressure. It was like the blitz. It's like they either had to blitz or there was just nothing, and
That's
like everyone was getting
what
catches.
I thought. I felt like we were giving Hurts too much time in the pocket. I'm
Way
like,
too
can
much
someone
time.
like get after him?
Yeah,
And
his
then
O-line is also like
yeah.
the Philly O-line is also really good, and also Hurts was able to, because of the pressure on Saquon Barkley, like he was able to start running like when he needed to and use his legs, and I guess Mahomes wasn't really able to do like too much of that, but like I mean. Yeah, no, they had way too much time for Hurts to throw the ball. I mean, even Jahan Dotson, who hadn't done like a ton this season, he like almost scored a touchdown, and then they did the tush push, and that also like kind of almost drove me insane in the Washington game. But but because they tried to stop it, and then Louis like jumped over it. I was like, what the heck is going on?
Didn't they say if they do something again, then they're gonna have to give Eagles points?
Yeah, it was so funny. It was like if this behavior continues, they're gonna have to award a score. And I was just like, rooting for Washington. I was like, do it, just keep jumping the line, award them the score. Who cares? But obviously they didn't want to do that. But they ended. It was a whole funny thing. Like I was heated in the moment, but looking back on it, it was pretty funny. Like I will say that. But
it was funny.
Yeah, it was hilarious actually. It was like, because he kept jumping over the line, and then like they had to like say, if you guys keep doing it, we're gonna award. Like I've never heard that before. So then anyway, so by the end of the story, like they score a touchdown, and Washington's like defeated and demoralized, and I just like I gave up. I switched the channel. Like I was like, I'm watching like the Bills Chiefs pregame show. I'm not watching them celebrate the NFC Championship game or like whatever nonsense. Like I was like, I'm done. Like I was already like probably like changing my Twitter to like Chiefs stuff, I think, at that point.
I just wanted to see a rookie quarterback get into the Super Bowl. That's why I was.
Jaden Daniels would have been like pretty fun to, even besides just like Philly hate. Like it would have been fun because like I feel like a lot of people wanted like fresh blood, and like I know obviously you're a Chiefs fan, but like people who aren't a Chiefs fan or an Eagles fan were like, oh, we want to see like the Bills and the Commanders. I feel like I would have like been perfectly, like I would have been pretty fine with that, and I would have obviously, I guess, then rooted for Buffalo, but like it would have been a fun, refreshing matchup, and instead we got the same one. And on top of that, it wasn't even, the thing is, like for me, like as like someone who like really like loves and studies the game, like I'm like, this is going to be a good game. We might hate the two teams in it, like America, I mean, I like the Chiefs, but like like most people hate the two teams in it, but this is going to be a good football game. These teams are very evenly matched. The Chiefs have an elite defense, the Eagles have pretty good offense, they also have pretty good defense, but that matchup did not play out on paper like equally at all. Like it was like, so I feel like even the football enthusiasts and purists were like disappointed, and that really disappointed me. Like I was like, we didn't even get the classic either. Like
no, and I hate games that aren't fun to watch. Like as much anxiety as those close Chiefs games give me, I like watching fun games. And that was just like, ugh.
I know, it was like a blow. There was like nothing to enjoy about it was just over. And then like the halftime show, I mean, I like Kendrick, but like, I mean, I feel like he's a good rapper or what. I don't know where you like stand on the whole thing, but I feel like it was fun. A lot of people said the halftime show was kind of boring too, which was like a little unfortunate, but I mean, I liked it, and like the whole like
I like
thing that was fire. Like I was waiting for him to drop that, and then the thing with SZA, like I thought that was good. Then but another thing that like you said was like, you miss how Mahomes played like free, and like how he, at the end of the Super Bowl, like that was like vintage. That's like the Mahomes who everyone, knew and like grew to like be like, that's why people consider him like probably the best, like when he hangs it up, like people are probably going to say like, depending on how many Super Bowls he wins, like I feel like he could still like very easily get 7 as long as the Chiefs are always in the conversation. You know what I mean? Whatever they do, like they figure, they usually figure it out. It's just this time they didn't. But but like what makes him like superhuman is like these plays where he scrambles all the way to the side and he throws on the run. And Worthy played a big role in that. He had 157, he had 2 touchdowns and all in garbage time. Then Mahomes the deep ball, which was even deeper than Jalen Hurts' deep ball. You know what I mean? Like Mahomes like showed off like what he's known for. He did the underhand passes. But where was that? Like I know like the pressure got to him and everything, but why didn't they like play more? Is it because there was so much pressure on them in the beginning of the game that they couldn't? Why did they go away from like? I know they don't have Tyreek Hill and the Legion of Zoom anymore, but why did they go away from that and become like whatever this like? They try to become like the Patriots, like where they like dink and dunk their way down the field, and they like Mahomes doesn't get to like do like what he, and then there's like the whole thing where he just scrambles around like looking for flags. Like that's like not the Mahomes like we grew to love, like but with the way he played at the end of Super Bowl was the Mahomes that everyone was like, wow, like this guy's like incredible. Like he might be the best guy, talented quarterback we've ever seen. Like before that, like I would say Aaron Rodgers, but this guy has like even more like tools and skill sets. So, like why did they go away from that? And do you think if they went, do you think if he had that time? I mean, obviously he didn't have time to do that, but if they played more free, do you think they would have had a chance, or do you think it was still like kind of gone south?
100%. And I think the reason why they got away from that is because obviously it started out when we were on this back-to-back Super Bowl run. We had receivers that couldn't even catch the ball. Obviously going away from Tyreek Hill, we were just trying to find receivers that would kind of take in his role. Kelsey, he used to be able to get down the field a little bit, but obviously as he's gotten older, we're not seeing much of that anymore. And so I just think that we had to find ways to win of slowly but surely getting down the field, which, I mean, I'm okay with. It's not the Mahomes that I love to watch, but I think that if that's a way that they can get
the job done, like I'm not like 100% opposed to it, but
right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like obviously now that we have Xavier Worthy and like you said, having 157 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl,
in
that was
garbage
kind
time too, like not even in the whole
yeah,
game,
and
like right at the end.
right, and I kind of feel bad for him because I know obviously everyone was upset about the loss, but I still think that so many people need to focus on the fact that he was able to put up that many yards to score his first touchdown in a Super Bowl.
And
I
Hopkins
think that
still had one actually.
Right. Yeah. So I think that we're going to for sure see more of that next season. And with Rice coming back from his injury.
Oh, Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy is going to be such a good combination. Like, look out. That's going to be fun.
I'm excited for. Right. But yeah, I think that we're slowly getting back into that. I just think that it's really just been the weapons that Mahomes has been given. And then also having DeAndre Hopkins and Hollywood Brown. They were learning the playbook and they weren't fully comfortable. Yeah. And so that's why they kind of had so many misconnections, I feel like, because they weren't fully comfortable and they didn't 100% get in the rhythm that they should have gotten, obviously, because I know it's a lot to learn getting into a new team, learning the playbook, a new offense. But I just think that if they didn't have any misconnections and they would have been fully on beat with each other, that Mahomes may have been able to find Hopkins more this season. But I mean, Hopkins and him still had a good season together. I mean, if you look back at the games, he had I don't know how many yards it was, but he's been a great addition. I don't know if he'll be back next season. We'll see. But yeah, I think that we will see the Mahomes that we saw with Tyreek Hill next season with Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice for sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be a fun season. Yeah, I think Hopkins and Hollywood Brown are both free agents, so we'll see if they decide to return or not. But at least the other 2 guys, hopefully Kelsey does. I think I saw he might come. Like he's probably leaning towards it, but I think he has a month to make that decision.
Yeah,
I would like
March 12th or something.
Yeah, I would like to see him come back. I know he didn't have the best season last season, but but I feel like he has more in the tank, and like I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I feel like, and he's always a good security blanket for the offense. Like if nothing else works, he's always over the middle, and like he's like the go-to. Exactly. Yeah, and if he's not, then like the other guys will be. So like both ways, like it works out. But I feel like in the run game, like if they can get back to like I guess I feel like Hunt had a pretty decent season. Pacheco, hopefully next season will be his usual self. Like I feel like something about the Eagles that like they do right is like I was like kind of studying their roster breakdowns because I'm also like now like I'm part of like the sports business club, so we have to like kind of like write articles like kind of like looking at the salary cap and stuff. Like the two teams kind of built themselves similarly. Like they focused on big players, but the Eagles, like I realized they spend a lot. Like they spend a premium on Saquon Barkley, obviously, and I feel like for them it was the right move. For the Giants, it wasn't going to be the right move, and I'm okay with that. The Chiefs kind of like also in a smart way, kind of they spend cheap, or they like to use the draft for receivers and running backs, and that works to an extent. And like they got this season, they had a lot better of a receiving core than last season, and they improved. And do you think it would be worth the Chiefs like spending a lot of money on like a big like key playmaker? Because I feel like that's one thing that they kind of like, even though these guys are like not bad, like I feel like the Eagles like had so many like really good weapons, and maybe like you might think like, yeah, I mean they spend a lot of money on these guys, and maybe that also could make me, if the Chiefs even had like, I know Worthy could become that player, but like do you think the Chiefs like in free agency, I guess this is how we can kind of shift to where it's like the offseason and draft stuff that I was going to talk about with you. But like, do you think the Chiefs should go out there and get like a big like, I don't know, like do they have that in the budget, or do you think that would be make a difference next year?
Right. As much as I would love a playmaker like Jamar Chase, even though he hates the Chiefs, I would love a great receiver. But just knowing Brett Veach and following the draft the past few seasons, no, I don't think that that's their plan to go out and get a big name like that.
I didn't think so either.
Yeah, they have faith in obviously Rashee Rice evolving, being their number one receiver, and then Xavier Worthy being right there next to him. And so I think that the thing that Brett Veach capitalizes on is these young players, because I think it was the 22 draft class, 22 or 21, where we had Nick 22, I think, Nick Bolton, George Karlaftis, who else? But we had so many great guys, and it's like they really, they capitalized on that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I think that Brett Veach is going to do. Obviously, last season, it was really hard letting L'Jarius Sneed go to the Titans, but I think that they really had to make sure that Chris Jones was going to stay, and he was
Chris
going to get
Jones, necessary to keep him. He's obviously like the anchor of their defense, one of the best probably defensive players in the league. So like, yeah, I mean, no, like no doubt. Yeah, I mean, even the young guys like Karlaftis and Tranquil, like they put a lot of like, even on defense, like they put a lot of like cheaper guys like on rookie contracts, or like, but they play really well. And like I feel like I mean the Eagles to an extent, they also drafted really well, like getting Cooper DeJean and Quinion Mitchell, both of the two top corners like in the draft, was like people thought maybe they get one or the other, and they got both. And then but where they spent money around Hurts was like obviously like the O-line, and the Chiefs also did that too with their biggest like offensive line guys, and kind of. But obviously any team's going to pay heavy for the quarterback. Even like the Giants like did it with DJ just because of the market, and like people criticize that, but especially when you have a really good quarterback, you're going to pay him a premium. You're going to pay receivers a big I mean not receivers, but you're going to pay like I think, I don't know, like some positions on the O-line, especially the ones who protect like the blind side, like that stuff. And then you're going to pay like the left guard and or left tackle and the right tackle, or whatever it is. You're going to pay the quarterback and the best offensive lineman. You're going to pay your best defensive star, like they paid Chris Jones, to stay. And obviously, like the rest is kind of like negotiable. I guess it's kind of like who fits the system with the Chiefs. But I feel like for the Eagles, it's like we want the best talent, and everywhere else will compromise. And I feel like both ways work to an extent. Like the Chiefs have a system where you could put like guys into that defense and it'll work because their defense is so, and same thing on offense too. And then the Eagles, I think they paid a premium, and that's why they have AJ Brown and Devontae. Well, they drafted Devontae Smith, but they traded for AJ Brown, but they have like these like bona fide stars at receiver, and they have like a bona fide star running back. And the Chiefs, kind of as good as Hopkins was in his heyday, like they kind of didn't really have, but still a big upgrade from last season. But they didn't really have that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying for sure. Yeah, I think obviously their mindset when they were getting Hopkins in Hollywood is we're winning a Super Bowl, we're fixing the offense, and obviously that couldn't happen. But yeah, I think, I don't know, because thinking about the draft and who we're going to pick up, I think Brett Veach does a good job looking at the draft class.
Yeah.
As far as any trades happening, I'm not sure, but I think that's something that the Chiefs, obviously, they need to focus on the O-line for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also thinking, because if Kelsey leaves, tight ends wise, but we've got a rookie, Jared Wiley, but I think that he's going to evolve. And then we have Noah Gray, which everyone calls Baby Kelsey. So I feel like we'll be fine there. But I don't know. I would love to see a playmaker. I would love to see T. Higgins in a Chiefs uniform, but obviously that's probably never going to happen.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It makes me sad because I know Mahomes he would explode with player like that, receiver like that. But I don't know. I don't think that the Chiefs are going to spend that much money. And I know that we're kind of really low on the cap
Yeah,
space
I've
this
seen
year.
that too. They're against the. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm sure
and
they'll figure it out, but yeah, they are. They don't
yeah,
have a ton of money to spend on the cap right
and
now.
Mahomes will probably restructure his contract, which is
Right.
something that he has always done because obviously he cares more about rings than money. And so I
Yeah,
know
and he has like a
also
ton of it
last
anyway.
year.
So yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's like Kelsey took pay cuts to try to keep the, so like he's probably undervalued at his position, even though he makes like 20
Yeah.
million or 17 million. But I saw like maybe they might get like if Kelsey retires, they might get like I forget if it was like Austin Hooper, like one of the free agent tight ends. Like they might do that. Like
Mhm.
in that
Yeah.
case they'll need to replace him or get someone in the draft or maybe
Right.
a free agent to fill a gap. But yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, I think that's because with the Chiefs, their draft picks like so low and everything. It's like, they get kind of just like best player available at wherever they are, and I feel like they've done a good job. But yeah, I mean, like I know like the Giants are kind of like in the market for a quarterback. They're kind of in a mess because like they kind of won a game they weren't supposed to, and now like they're kind of still not in the worst spot because if they won the game against Philly, I would have been really upset. They would have had the 7th pick, but at least they have a chance of like whatever. Like so, like I think I don't know if you have any intel on this or not, but like I think the Browns and Titans might. I'm kind of still under the assumption that there's kind of still there's a good chance they might take quarterbacks. So I guess worst case for the Giants, if they don't get Shador or Ward, like they'll probably be left with like Hunter. I mean, they can get Travis Hunter, they can get Jackson Dart. I've seen a lot of Matt Stafford
I've
rumors.
seen a lot of stuff on Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heisman guy. I mean, he plays both positions.
Mhm.
I feel like, pairing him up with Neighbors and having a lockdown guy in defense. And as long as you get a quarterback, I've seen Fields. I've seen a lot of Stafford rumors. I feel like that might actually be happening.
Really? For the
Yeah.
Giants? I haven't heard that.
Yeah, a lot of. I don't know if it's just smoke and mirrors, but like the rumors are getting stronger, and also Cooper Cup potentially, but I don't know if they're gonna. I know
Really?
he wants to
Would you
trade
like
or they.
Stafford for the Giants? Would you be a fan of that?
Sorry, if Stafford and Cup come, you said
I said if he went to the Giants, would you be a fan of that?
who? Matt Stafford.
Yeah.
Um, Honestly, like, yeah, I mean, like, as a bridge, yes. I mean, like, I feel like it might
Yeah.
be, he's playing at a high level. I mean, they were actually the team who took to almost beat the Eagles, and like, imagine
Mhm.
if that happened, that would have
Yeah,
been.
they had a great game.
They
I
were
thought that
almost there.
they win.
They did Saquon blew it open. They did everything right. They got the stop, they got the score, but then they couldn't or
They were
whatever.
so close.
I know.
Yeah.
I was like so upset. I was just like, damn, but like
So
you know,
close. Yeah,
so
I did
close but
not
so
want to
far.
see.
It's like, oh, the Commanders will get him next week, but obviously that didn't.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, the Chiefs will get him next week, and like, that didn't happen. The Eagles got better as the playoffs went on. Like me and my friend were like laughing about the Packers game, and we're like, oh, the Packers are so bad, but the Eagles like aren't even that good. And Jalen Hurts only threw for 130 yards behind this perfect offensive line with his best
Yeah.
receivers and with pockets like all day. And now I can't even say anything about Jalen anymore because like he like put up a good show and like in a big game, and they took Saquon off the equation and he balled out. And you have to give him credit. Like he played good in both Super Bowl games, even the loss. Besides the fumble, in this game he played almost like besides the pick, which he played a great game. But respect out to Jalen Hurts and Philly. But yeah, I mean I feel like Stafford and Cup. I think that would be like pretty solid. Like
It would be.
yeah, it would be fire. I don't know how good the Giants would be if all that happens, but I feel like they'd at least be
I
fun and
don't
like
know.
I feel like
Wait.
they you know what I mean.
So I saw these articles being published about how the Jets, like obviously Rodgers can't come back because they released him, or I don't know how exactly that works, but I'm wondering if any team is going to pick him up. I honestly don't think anyone will, but who
Yeah, that's a good
knows?
question too because I saw the whole thing with the Jets. Like they called him in
Mhm.
or like he flew back to Jersey and then they said they're moving on. I don't know. I guess they had a conversation and the whole
Yeah.
thing. He was doing some podcast. I don't know. Like it kind of just didn't work out. It's like as bad as being a Giants fan is. At least like we were supposed to be bad. Like Jets fans, they were supposed to be like pretty decent and like they were supposed to. Yeah, they won one more game than we did. Like it was like it was so much more talent all like on defense, on offense. Rodgers didn't even have that bad of a season and they. Last year I felt so bad. I was like, oh my God, he got injured. And like, what if we'll never know. But then this year he comes back, he's healthy, the team. And then I don't know what happened. Like I was too busy like following how bad the Giants were. They really care. But like the Jets, like
Yeah,
they
I
were
don't
like
know what
even
would
worse. Like with all
happen.
that talent, like to like
Yeah,
lose all
with
the games.
Devontae.
Huh?
Yeah, I thought that they were gonna have a good season, and then they didn't. I watched the Aaron Rodgers documentary on Netflix. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's so good, and it makes me have a whole new perspective of just the way that I view him. You should watch it if or anyone that's
Oh,
watching should
that's
watch
that's
this
that's
if they
interesting. Yeah,
haven't.
maybe I'll wait, it's what's it called?
I don't know if it's just called Aaron Rodgers or if there's a certain name for it, but it
Oh, look,
just
it's
came out last year
interesting.
on Netflix. But it
Yeah, I
talks
mean, I
about his
watched
whole career and then his mindset, if he was going to retire or not, and then
right.
playing, and
I
then his
watched
injury.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. Yeah, I mean, I watch various NFL shows. Like I watched the quarterback series on Netflix
That
or
was really good.
whatever. Yeah, I like that. That gave a good insight. I watched Hard Knocks, obviously, with my Giants being on it. Like I had to. I watched
Mhm.
some of the Jets one too, and like that was kind of
Oh, yeah.
interesting. Yeah, with like him like come Aaron Rodgers joining the team, and that was good. And the Giants, like I guess like my personal take on like the whole Saquon Barkley situation is kind of like everyone gives Joe Shane like a hard time, but I'm just like like if they really wanted to disrespect Saquon, they could have just like like you know what I mean? They could have like traded him. They could have like undervalued him. They actually did the right thing by him. They were like, no, you go test the market, see what your value is, and then make a decision. And I'm not gonna blame Saquon for joining the Eagles because it was a good decision for him. But like it was also a good decision for us not to pay like a running back that much money, especially like you know what I mean. No one thought he would be this good, and even if he was, the Giants were nowhere near like Philadelphia. Like they didn't have a good O line. They didn't have like much of anything. I mean, they released Daniel Jones, like the guy they pay all this money to, because he wasn't even
Mhm.
doing good. And I don't know, like it's fine, like because if he was here, like the whole team would be miserable. We'd screw up our draft pick any further. Like I'm happy that at least he's doing well, and like the NFL gets to see how ridiculously talented he is. Like I didn't even know he was like. He hasn't shown off like that since his rookie season, like the reverse hurdle. Like I'm happy, and he's like such a good guy, like on and off the field. Like I can't even like hate him. Like you know what I mean? Like he's like one of the nicest, like he maybe made a selfish-ish decision, but like to chase money, but that's fine because he's a running back, and it's like a running, like he wanted to secure his contract, and he's just like such a class act. And I'm glad like we get to see his talent, and yeah, the Chiefs balled him up in the game, and maybe I don't know, maybe the Giants could claim a win out of that, but like at the same time, it's just he was the whole game plan, so like props to him, like I'm glad he's happy, but anyway, that's kind of like the whole kind of talked about the whole Super Bowl and everything. Got those thoughts out. It's been a good conversation. I guess to end the episode, just wanted to do some like rapid fire, real quick, and just on some of the other sports stuff that's been like kind of going on, and then we can sign off. But what are your I know like NBA All Star Weekend happened last weekend. Kind of a little disappointing in my opinion. I feel like a lot of basketball wasn't really played in the thing. Like I feel like the tournament was kind of an upgrade in a way over what we've seen, but I feel like it still wasn't that competitive. The thing that was cool was the dunk contest. I feel like Mac McClung is like a heck of a dunker. Like if you've seen any of the dunks that he did, like he was just out of this world. Like and even Stephon Castle wasn't bad. But I've always enjoyed All Star Saturday Night, like as growing up. That was one of my favorite things. Like we've seen great dunk contests, but kind of like what are your thoughts on like NBA All Star Week? Do you think it's like they should put more effort? Like I've seen like people say America versus the world would like kind of like what hockey's doing. I feel like that would be a really good format. Like do you think like are you like a fan of like the NBA and like All-Star Weekend?
Well,
And, like what do you think
yeah,
should be like, changed, I guess?
yeah. I don't know what should change. For me personally, I'm not a huge NBA fan. I watched a little bit of the All-Star game. I thought it was I thought it was okay, but I definitely agree with you. I think that maybe they could find some more ways to make it a little bit more entertaining. And I agree. I felt like it wasn't a whole bunch of basketball. Like it wasn't a
Yeah.
very good game to
They kind of had
really.
the tribute to like Inside, and then that was cool because I really enjoy watching like that's one of the best sports shows like Inside the NBA, and I know they're moving to ESPN, and like Steph Curry shooting half courts, like it's all fun and games, and I like it, but I wanted to see some competitive, and also the
Yeah.
format was so short too. Like it's not even like we had like a full like like extravaganza either. It's kind of everything was short, but it was like kind of competitive, but it kind of wasn't. There just wasn't a lot of
Yeah.
basketball. I was just
Yeah,
disappointed.
that's what I think. I don't know. I feel like it had a lot of high expectations, and for me, it just didn't really meet those.
Yeah, I
But
guess. Yeah. I kind of didn't. I thought the tournament would like fix all the problems and be competitive, and we'd have like, we'd have like world versus whatever, and like, I mean, we had like all these different teams that they made, and I was like, this is gonna be good, and then it wasn't really that good. And then the skills competition, like I saw like Wembanyama and Chris Paul were just cheating it, and like then they got disqualified. Like that was actually pretty funny. And then
that was
that was hilarious. And then they brought out the rule book to explain why they got disqualified, and
nice.
and the fans were like booing them because they're just throwing the balls, not even trying to shoot them. And I was like, is that like why would they even do that? Like, did they think that was gonna work? Like, isn't that like against the rules or
Yeah,
something? It's just
right. I
such a
know.
mockery of like the event. Like it's just like, and then the 3-point competition's fun because like that's like actually the best shooters going at it, and Hero won that one instead of like I mean like
I didn't
Dame
get
or
to watch
whatever.
that one.
Huh?
Who won that one, did you say? I didn't get to watch that.
Oh,
That
Tyler Hero. Like from
Oh,
the
okay.
Heat, yeah, he
Uh-huh.
won that, so that was cool. I mean, he's a good shooter. I mean, I liked him a lot when he was like, like I guess when the Heat made, he was like he has like a lot of swag and stuff, and he's more than just a shooter, but he's also like a very good one. So like I don't know, he just the whole bubble run with the Heat and Jimmy Butler, who's now in the Warriors, like that was a fun time, and yeah, I mean, but anyway, Hero won that, but yeah, All Star Weekend just disappointing. I mean, it's just I don't know what you could really do, but like to fix that. I feel like U.S. versus the world was like it probably would be the best if they really got a serious game going on. That I think that would be cool to just settle debates and players playing for pride, and like we saw like the Olympics and like how cool that was, and how
Yeah.
Serbia almost beat the U.S. and how they still won, and it, like then they beat France in their own country, and like that was actually that they played with a lot of passion. That Steph Curry started shooting ridiculous shots like he always does. So that's that was like really cool. But this is just like I'm not really too big of a big NBA guy. Like this, I mean, the Nets are doing bad right now, and like they're tanking, and also it's just like I don't know. I feel like kind of like what I said about football. I feel like college, in a way, like college basketball is also kind of more exciting, but at the same time,
Mhm.
NBA is like more. There's more talent, and it's just probably start now. Like now that football's over, like I'll probably start like with the playoffs and everything. I'll start watching it more. But it's just I don't know. But I think what a team that a league that did All Star Weekend well was the NHL because they had like they had 4 nations and everything like that. So and I didn't expect it to be as big as it ended up like getting, but I think it became such a big deal. Everyone was like saying, oh, like free bird and this and that. Kind of brought my hockey craze like back. I feel like then the USA and Canada, they were fighting each other, and they have another match tomorrow. So US probably trying to go for 2, and even though they lost to Sweden, but Canada, you know what I mean? Like yeah, I mean again, hockey, like another sport that like I'm kind of in and out of from like Devils fan, but like but yeah, I feel like that was like how you do All-Star Weekend. Like these players are playing for pride, and they're like doing it for their country, and the games are good and they're exciting, and you have the league's best, the Americans versus Canadians versus like Finnish and Swedes. Like I feel like that's how you do all, and it just brought so much passion out. And like NHL, they also kind of had a bad format, or which is still more exciting than the NBA's because they did 3-on-3s. But like I just feel like that's how you probably do All-Star Weekend. Like like if the
Perfect.
NBA could do something like that, I feel like that'd probably be like ideal, I guess. Like is that kind of like what you like feel as well about that whole thing? Or?
Yeah, I agree. I always liked watching the MLB All-Star games. Those were always my favorite to watch.
Yeah.
So
Do they
yeah, I don't know. What were you saying?
sorry. Did they like put like a lot of like I'm like baseball's probably like not that I don't like it, but it's like not really like my biggest sport. Like, do they like tend to like put a lot of effort into the MLB like All Star games? Because I know in like a lot of the other sports they don't. So like
I feel like they do, honestly. I feel like there's a
it
lot of
plays out
hype
like a
around
normal
it.
game, right? Like kind of like it's
Yeah,
just like NL
yeah,
versus AL, but like
yeah.
yeah,
And
I guess
that's
because
what it
it's hard
yeah,
to fake like baseball. Like you can't really like like not hit the ball. It's not like the
not
same thing with basketball. Like it's you have the
right.
home run derby and that's a lot of fun. But yeah, the
I
actual
love that.
game, yeah. I think one year didn't the Royals like bring in like they voted all their guys into the
Yeah.
lineup or something like
Oh,
that?
into the All-Star game?
Yeah,
Yes, that was in either 2014 or 2015 when we had Moustakas, Lorenzo Cain, Eric Hosmer. Who else was in there? Gordon, maybe Alex Gordon got in there. That is the team that I miss because being a Royals fan right now kind of sucks. Last
yeah,
season gave me some hope because we finally saw baseball in October,
I know.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but that was really cool when they were all voted in. But yeah, I think that they do put a lot of effort into it too, especially with the home run derby. I feel like that gets a bunch of views. And I know this last one, who was it? Aaron Judge that won. I know Bobby Witt Jr. came right behind him, and I was so mad because he was so close and I wanted him to win so bad. But
Mm.
I just feel like events wise, I feel like they put on a good show for people, and it gets really well profited off of because a lot of people are getting those jerseys and everything. So
Right.
yeah.
Honestly, like, yeah, I mean, I agree. And like for I feel like for all the complaints the NFL gets, because they probably have like probably one of the worst All-Star weekends. Because like, but with that
Yeah.
being said, like I think they did the right thing making the Pro Bowl like flag football, because if you've watched that, that's actually really entertaining. Like they do put an effort. There's no injury risk or minimal because it's flag, and they can still be competitive. So I'm like, instead of having a non-competitive tackle game where like you can't really tackle this and that, why don't you just have flag football? Let the players have fun, and we've seen a lot of fun come out of it. And the format's kind of wacky, but like I'd much rather have that than like some like like some half-ass like regular game. You know what I mean? Like, so I feel like that's like a cool way to do it. So I don't know what the NBA solution could be, like whether it's like a 1-on-1 or a 3-on-3, like something like more casual maybe, like that could be fun. But yeah, but I mean, in terms of like, yeah, I know the Royals, like obviously they made the playoffs again. I think they lost to the Yankees, right? The Yankees beat them in the playoffs. Yeah, and then I don't know. It was like one of my friends, my friends who follow baseball. It's kind of like the Chiefs Eagles in a lot of ways, because like people like kind of, if you don't like the Yankees or the Dodgers, like you really don't like the Yankees or Dodgers. And I was like, oh, it's like battle of like the best teams. And then obviously for me as like a Yankees fan, it was rough because then they lost to the Dodgers and they blew 5 runs in an inning, and it was just like they didn't, like, I don't know too much about like baseball like that, but like I was just like, that's just horrible, like decision making effort. And like, and then another one, there's a grand slam, but that's rough, I guess. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean, that was a rough ending. But you think the Royals are like going to be back in the playoffs like this season?
I do. I think that they have the capability to. I think that they want it more than ever because obviously finally getting into the playoffs last season and then losing the way that they lost, I feel like they'll be ready. And I don't know as far as roster moves what they're going to make, but obviously Salvador Perez has been awesome to watch growing up. He's always been my favorite player. Obviously, I miss the 2015 team.
Right.
It hasn't been nothing like that, but with having Bobby Witt, I mean, he's done so much for the team and I feel like just for the organization as a whole, because even in these horrible years of the Royals, people have still stuck around and had hope because of him, because of the success that he's brought into us. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I feel like they'll be able to do it. I really do, and I'm
Yeah.
excited to watch. But I hope it's not like last season where they get in the playoffs and then boom, gone.
Yeah.
Especially the Yankees, because I'm
I
not a big fan of the Yankees, and I'm like, oh
Yeah,
my
I
god,
probably wouldn't be either if I wasn't like a New York guy. But yeah, the Dodgers just won like sledgehammer. They beat the Mets, they beat the Yankees,
mhm.
they just beat everyone like badly, and I was just like, ugh, like it's unfortunate, but like bad taste out of like my mouth, I guess. It's like it's what it
Yeah,
is with the Yanks. But I mean, Juan Soto's now in the Mets, so that's interesting. But I think the Yankees still got a good group with Aaron Judge. Like I feel like my friend who's into baseball is saying like it's probably gonna be Dodgers Yankees again. Like I mean, things could change, but he feels like they're the best too. And I think he's like a Phillies fan because he's like a Philly sports guy. But he also said he likes the Royals because like they're like a fun team and stuff like that, and they have like underdog vibes. It's kind of like as much as I like tend to hate a lot of the other Phillies teams, like Philly sports teams. Like I had a soft corner for like the Phillies because they're like Red October and they're in the NL and I'm like an AL guy. So I was like, and I have like a lot of Philly sports friends, and I was like, I want to like be on their side like just one time, like so I was just like like it's like a little sweet like soft spot for them. And I was like, and also I just like the Phillies, like the Red October thing, but they also came close. And then everyone hates the Astros, like whether it's the Dodgers or the Yankees or the Phillies. So like that whole thing, like I guess brought a lot of people together too, because they actually cheated, and that was yeah, I mean, like, I used to hate the Patriots too. So then, like, I feel like a lot of people forgot that the Chiefs used to be like America's heroes. Like, I feel like people kind of just forgot
mhm.
that they used to,
It was
everyone
the
used to root for them, and then
underdog.
like, You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like everyone just like, oh, like just now they just hate them. It's like, well, you used to root for them like 5 years ago. Like, did you like forget about that? Or like, so it's just like one of those things. But I guess people just hate dynasties. But anyway,
Success.
what?
I
Yeah,
said they hate success.
yeah.
It's
It's
funny.
like,
Holmes said that too. He was like, I didn't like the
yeah, I
Patriots.
know. I did see that he said that actually. So
Yeah,
yeah,
he's
yeah.
like, I understand. I was once that guy. I didn't like the Patriots either, but
Me neither. So like,
it's,
but yeah, I mean, but I guess you have respect for them like once you become, how hard it is to maintain that level of excellence and, like even if there's some like whatever, like some fluky things, like even just to be able to be at that level is just, year after year go to the Super Bowl, you're on a, like you're playing more games, you're on a different level and, like you have to practice hard, you have to like play hard, you have to have a lot of things go right. So it's not easy. So like a lot of respect goes into
not
that.
at
But
all. That's what another thing is a lot of people don't understand, like just the fact of getting into the Super Bowl 3 years in a row.
right.
Obviously, you have to work up to that. And it's like as soon as the Super Bowl's over and then it's time to get to work and it's
Yeah.
just season all over again. Everyone's on this level. And so that's why I think that the Chiefs should still get a lot of credit for even
Oh,
being
no
at the
doubt.
position that they were at and Mahomes working with each different team that he's had every year and all the adversity and yeah, it's a lot of work to get there, but it's fun to watch.
It is, and it's fun that they go every like every year. It feels like the Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, and like it's I'm sure it's a fun time, and like man, I wish the Giants get back to that kind of thing again, where they but they're like
Maybe it'll be their year.
huh in a week or
So
a
maybe
year,
year,
maybe
maybe
next
their
year.
maybe next year. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna be next.
Maybe
It's
the
maybe
year
in like
after
10 years or like in
that.
15.
Yeah.
Maybe 5. Like you never know. It could be quicker, but we'll see. Maybe Giants Chiefs Super Bowl would be like really cool. But like I
That
guess,
would be
but
cool.
it'd be fire. But yeah, I mean, anyway, I guess like I kind of got like off the career path stuff because we started talking about sports. But I guess kind of like what made you like want to switch and like go into like sports like nursing and like like kind of that
Yeah.
path, I guess.
Yeah, so like I had mentioned, my sister is a nurse, and I come from a family where all my aunts and cousins are nurses, and so I've kind of always been around that. But like I said, I just didn't know if I wanted to go into it because I know how hard nursing school is and it takes a lot of work and time. But I ended up shadowing in the ICU just to kind of get a feel for it. So I was like, do I really want to do this? Do I want to make the switch and commit to it? So I shadowed, and then I just had such a good experience with the patients that were there, and I just loved it. And ever since then, I knew this is what I want to do because I just loved being there for them, being able to talk with them, and I could just totally see myself do that every day.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, it kind of grew from that. And I don't know exactly what type of nurse I want to be because I know that I could do kind of a mix of sports and nursing, of
Right.
sports medicine nurses
Yeah.
dealing with injuries, but at the same time, I don't know if I necessarily want to do that. I did really like the environment of the ICU or maybe the ER because I shadowed in the ER as well.
Hmm.
But I kind of strive off of stressful situations and fast-paced environments, and
Yeah.
so that's why I liked the ER. But no, I love being around people. I love helping people, and obviously being in the hospital is such a hard time. And so I just like being able to be that light for people and let them know that they're going to be okay and also to just be the person that's there for them because some people don't have any visitors when they're in the hospital
Yeah.
and that thing with one of my patients that I was with. And so I just loved being able to be there for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Like I like that it's like, you have the people side and like you want to help people
Yeah.
and that's like kind of driving you because like I mean that's kind of like a thing for me. Like I kind of like made a switch away from like kind of the sports side. I'm still trying to figure out if I can get into the industry, whether it be sports business or writing or whatnot. But like
Mhm.
I'm pursuing HR and like human resources and they're kind of like the support system for a company and they bring in talent and they have a bunch of different roles, but like, part of it's like working with people and like I know it's not the same as like nursing, but in a similar way, like it's like a people oriented like
Yeah.
profession and
Right.
journalism kind of is too in a way because you're like providing a
Mhm.
service to the people, you're narrating, you're doing different things, so you're the eyes and the ears, so like that's or the voice or whatever, so that's also cool. But like, yeah, I mean, I definitely like the people side of it. I think that's definitely driven me, whether it be this or whether it be HR and like different things like that, working with people, getting to know different kinds of people and being there. And that's
And
kind of like why I wanted to start this vibing series and everything too, like to have these kinds of
yeah.
conversations. But yeah, I guess last thing before I let you go, so in terms of like college basketball, like I know you said you went to like UMKC, and like I saw like Kansas had a bad loss last night. They're probably going to be an 8 seed in March Madness now. UConn's kind of having like a down year. I know like obviously Rutgers, they just tipped off, so I'm probably gonna have to watch that. But like I mean all these blue bloods are kind of having a down season, like UNC. I know Duke's pretty good. I know the SEC is having a really good college basketball season. They're putting a lot of teams in. Top the Big Ten's good, but kind of like what are your overall thoughts of like the way things are going with college basketball? Do you think we're going to have like fresh blood in the tournament this year? Do you think like maybe it's a down year for Kansas and some of these like blue blood teams, or like what are you kind of like looking ahead to like March Madness now?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's a down year for Kansas. Obviously, the way that they played last night was not good. And as far as their season is going to go, I don't know. I don't know if I see them getting super far. I think it could definitely be a down year. But I don't know, because I do a March Madness bracket, and every year my predictions are pretty good, I have to say, and I haven't made one yet. I
Still
don't
a little
know.
early, but like we'll
Yeah,
try for
yeah,
that.
but it just, like, thinking about everything, though, is I don't know who, like, I see at the end of it. Usually, I have, like, a good idea of teams that I'm leaning for and that I think that could put up a good show, but I don't know. I feel
Yeah,
like
it's like
this
why maybe like Auburn or like Duke, or
year,
it's wide
yeah,
open.
Auburn, Duke, they're always good, but it's
Alabama
like,
in there.
no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a weird year for college
it
basketball.
is.
Like
It
it's
is. It's like everyone is just kind of offbeat a little bit. I would
I
like to
feel
see
like
Duke
that too.
win.
Like UConn, Gonzaga, like all these really good teams are kind of struggling a little bit. And like some of these
Mhm.
other teams have kind of risen to the top. It's like Michigan, the Big Ten right now, Michigan State, like Purdue's kind of still in there. And then SEC's having a good year. Like those are kind of like the things I'm looking ahead to. And obviously in March Madness, there's going to be upsets and stuff. But it feels like it might be the year for the SEC. It might be the year for like one of the non-blue bloods to win it, whether it be from the SEC or the Big Ten. Like I just don't know. I feel like it's wide open. I feel like it's not a blue
Yeah,
blood year.
yeah,
If there is a blue blood, it could be Duke, because I know they have Cooper Flag. They've been rolling on all cylinders, and I've kind of like before I was like in the Rutgers. Like I don't know. I did like Duke because they have a lot of NBA prospects, and they have like that every time we touch song they like play like at the one of the early rallies, the Cameron Crazies. I don't know. I saw some video on YouTube, and I was young. Sometimes people have like weird reasons for liking sports teams, like they like the colors. But for me, that was like my thing. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I was like, they're also a pretty good team. Like I'm gonna like Duke. And I guess even though I'm a Rutgers guy, like I have a lot of second teams, which is kind of weird. But they're like I still have like they're still like kind of like my favorite like good team, or like whatever,
yeah.
because of that early. It might not even have much to do with basketball. Maybe it's just because I saw like one video one time. But whatever the reason is, I like them. But maybe if there's any good team like that could make any blue blood that could make a run, it's probably them. I think they have a good shot. Cooper Flag's been playing well. They've been running through the ACC, and I think hopefully this year it sets up well for March. I know last year NC State killed it, so that was really cool. Like as someone who loves like underdogs, like they did a really they won the ACC 5 games in 5 days. They were really low, then they went all the way to Final Four, and then they guys like DJ Burns, like they played well. So hopefully we get like a spoiler like making a run, like because that's what March Madness is all about. But in terms of like,
Yeah.
sorry, yeah, this year NC State's like not good. I was like checking; they're like really not good. But in terms of like your brackets, like do you mean like you make a bracket like yourself, or like when they come out, like you fill them
When
out?
they come out, yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it'd be kind of hard to like do it by yourself,
Yeah,
unless
I
you're like
could not do
unless you're like
that.
Joe like Lenardi, like like bracketology expert, then you could probably kind
No,
of do
I
it
could
yourself.
not do that. Yeah,
So like,
my
yeah.
family, we do a competition every year and
Yeah,
see who
bracket challenge. Yeah, I've
wins.
done those. Like
Yeah.
when you say like you're good at them, like obviously like I don't think anyone's filled out a perfect bracket, but do you mean like you like tend to get a lot right in them
Yeah,
before they
oh,
release
I have
them?
not had a perfect bracket, that's for sure.
Right.
Because
Yeah, I
possible.
think one guy got kind of close, but like he wasn't really that close. But like, I mean, he got like pretty far in, but like
I think I
something.
saw a video, I don't know if it was like 2 years ago, of where someone had a perfect bracket and everything was right. I'm like, how do people do this?
I
Because
have
I would
no.
have
It's like hard
guessed on
because you have to pick the upsets right, and you also have to
it.
pick the non-upsets because you could just
Yeah,
pick and you could just pick all the upsets, but the thing is, it might only be one or two, and it might be the ones you don't think they are. So it's like it's
that's what
very
I messed.
hard. It's very hard. That's why
Yeah,
it's a challenge, and it's the challenge isn't to necessarily get it right, but it's to just get it the most accurate. And sometimes
right.
you might have a hunch like 12/5, like it's a popular one, or maybe you like a team for whatever reason, and you're like, oh, they're gonna make a run. Like there's different things you can like use to make a guess and like just like get better than like other people. But it's always hard to fill out a perfect bracket. But I don't know, March Madness should be fun. I feel like it's disappointing being like a Rutgers fan. Like I'm gonna tune into that in a sec. But like I mean, because they have Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, like two of the other top guys besides Cooper Flag, but they haven't put together the best roster around them, and they've just been
Yeah.
like a mess this year. They've have a losing record. Like they might not even make the Big Ten tournament, but we'll find out. But I mean, other than that, like I mean, basketball's been it's been weird. Like UConn like lost to Seton Hall, and Seton Hall is like like our rivals in New Jersey, but they've had like beyond awful season. They're like one of the worst teams like out there in the Power Six or whatever, and they beat UConn, and it makes me like happy because I don't know, I don't like UConn a lot. And it's just been so funny. It's like seeing them lose in Maui, and everyone's like making fun of Dan Hurley, and they've just been losing games left and right, and it's just like, oh my god, like it's been fun like doing that kind of stuff for sure.
It
And
is. It is fun. I also like watching the WNBA too. I've loved
yeah.
watching Kate Clark. I'm
Oh
a
yeah. I think the
fan of
WNBA.
yes.
Yeah, it really blew up because Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, like all the stars in college, like became into they, like yeah, I mean she electrified like the Big Ten and just women's basketball, like so many people in general, like women, men, even like people like really fall in love with the WNBA because of players like her who changed the game, like kind of like
Yeah.
Steph or Mahomes, like she like has like unlimited range and like she brought so many people into it in Iowa and everywhere else, and stadiums would be full. And now she's in the league. So yeah, WNBA is fun. I'm not like the biggest fan, but like I know like the New York Liberty was like pretty good, and the Aces have been pretty good. But yeah, I mean I feel like with the influx of talent, like in the WNBA from the college basketball, women's college basketball. I think it's cool. I saw like last year they did Steph versus Sabrina in the women's All-Star game, and like that was, I mean, like Steph won, but like obviously that was a really good contest. I think both of them did better than anyone else that did, and I feel like then this year they didn't do that, but maybe they should have. Like I don't know, but you know what I mean. Like, but either way, like I feel like she definitely did change the game. Like women's basketball definitely. Yeah, I mean that's pretty cool, but yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I really had to like cover, I guess. I mean, yeah. Is there anything else you want to like talk about before we like sign off, or like do you think we kind of got to everything?
Wow. Yeah, I feel like we kind of covered everything. Oh, I have a question for you. Do
Yeah.
you have a Super Bowl prediction for next
Oh my
season?
God, it's
I know
so
it's
early.
really
It's so
I
early.
know it just ended 10 days ago, but
No,
I
I
do.
mean, it's a fair question. All right. I mean, I can go first, and then obviously I want to hear yours. But yeah. I mean, I feel like it's hard to like not pick the Chiefs just because like they're good. And I'm sure they'll retool and whatever their O line. They did it last time. I don't know. Man, I have not thought about. I feel like I don't want to like do a repeat. Like like again, like Chiefs Eagles. Although in that case, then like they can get their get back, which would be kind of fire. But like best 2 out of 3. But like I feel like the Bills are yet to break through. So, and I feel like the Eagles, they're so good right now. Like they're like on another level. So like my early one right now would probably be like and I saw the cracks in like Detroit a little bit. Like I don't know, like it's hard for me to trust them right now. I like them a lot, but I'm gonna go Bills Eagles for like a different spin on it. But I'm interested to see what you think. I'm wondering if
Yeah.
Kansas City found their way back in there again or not.
So what I think, and as much as a Chiefs fan I am, I'm trying to be unbiased. This is just from a logical standpoint.
Right.
I think the Chiefs are going to be back in it because I just think that this loss was so detrimental to them, giving up the three-peat and Mahomes. This is just going to motivate him even more.
They're
I
gonna
don't know if you
retool.
but he got a new haircut,
I
and it
saw
was like
that.
kind
Yeah, I
of
was like,
polished.
"Whoa," like, he looks
They're
so
like,
different, like,
yeah,
yeah,
they're
he's
like,
the
"This
same
is
number.
another Mahomes. He is locked in. He has his new haircut.
He's
He is
ready.
ready." Yeah, he's ready. So I think that this is just going to push them even further. I think with Rice and Xavier, it's going to be such a good season.
Yeah. I
I
think you
see
might be
them.
right.
Yeah, I
And
see them
they
getting into it. And then as far as the NFC goes, because the NFC is kind of difficult to predict. Like you
yeah,
mentioned with the Lions, how they just blew the playoffs. They had such a good
I
season. I thought
know. That's
that they were going
disappointing
to make it to the
too.
Super Bowl. Last season, my prediction was Chiefs Lions, and then
That
they
would've been
just
fun, yeah.
yeah, I don't know what
Commanders were
happened.
knocking on the
Yeah,
door too until they went to, like, Philly, and they even beat Detroit,
right.
and so,
Yeah,
any of those teams could be in the conversation. I feel like they're both
yeah,
very close.
yeah, I don't know. I don't see the Eagles getting back in it. I think mine's kind of between the 49ers. Obviously, they missed the playoffs this year.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know, 49ers. But then again, I kind of have some hope for the Commanders. I mean, they made
Yeah.
it this year. Obviously, they're gonna keep getting better and better, and, Jaden Daniels is gonna get more comfortable, so, hmm, I don't know. I think either Chiefs and 49ers or, I don't know if I can say Commanders, Chiefs and
Yeah, and
Commanders.
I would really like them to, but, like, I just
Either
don't.
Chiefs Commanders or Chiefs 49ers, but I could kinda see the 49ers getting back into it, but obviously they have a lot of work to do.
Yeah,
And
and
clearly,
help.
they need to go over the overtime rules because I still cannot get over the fact that they did not know about that.
Oh, the Niner oh, yeah, right. Because it was, like, the clock was running. To be fair, I didn't really know. I mean, I guess I kinda knew, like I didn't realize, like, if the clock went out, they'd just start a second overtime. Like, I think I thought, like I don't know
Yeah,
what would've happened, but, like, I just thought, like, that was it. Like,
yeah,
both
like
teams
how
had possessions. I didn't
yeah,
realize there would be a second one. And it was funny because like, CBS even, like, it was, like, someone said something, like, where they're like, "The NFL is gonna have a second overtime," and then if it happened, like, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, this is rigged." Like, how'd they know? It was, like, some weird thing, like, where someone said this is gonna go into 2 overtimes, but it almost happened. But, yeah, I mean, the Niners have to figure that out. I don't know. I mean,
yeah,
I feel like they're just so far, but they weren't that far. I mean, if they're healthy, they have, like, Brock Purdy, I mean, he's played decent at quarterback. McCaffrey, I don't even Debo Samuel. Like, they have, like, also solid defense. They could find their way back. It's just, I don't
yeah.
know, maybe I'm, like, a little bit, like, biased and, like, recency bias. Like, obviously, I wouldn't pick the Eagles, but they just look so much, like, better. Like, I have a hard time seeing how they don't get back unless it depends on what they do in free agency, 'cause I feel like
Mhm.
they have some guys, like, they have Zach Bond. I think they have to re-sign him. They have to keep their guys together, but I feel like overall, like, they might be the best team. I mean, the Commanders, I think, are gonna be right there, in the mix this year. I think the Lions are probably, like, a few maybe they might make it. Like, Bills Lions would be, like,
Maybe
really
they'll get something together, I don't know, but I just and then same with the Vikings, how they had
yeah,
such a good
they
season,
fell
and
off
then they
too.
blew it. I'm
I
like,
don't know, it's just, like, hard, like, the only team who
but then
didn't blow it
again
was, like, Philly, unfortunately. I mean,
exactly,
like,
yeah,
and that's, like, the one it's just, like, it's so annoying, but, like, it's like they were the team who looked like they were bad and they got good, and then, like, the
mhm,
rest of the teams who looked good, they blew it. But, yeah, I mean, I like the Chiefs thing. Like, they're gonna retool, they're gonna fix their O-line, they have good receivers, and they're, like, inevitable, and, like, it's just, like, the Bills, like, I don't know, I kinda feel for them in a way. I feel like
yeah,
I know
they
you
just can't
probably
win
don't.
against us.
What?
That's the thing, like, they just can't win against us, they
I
have such a
know.
good season, and then you get to the AFC Championship, and then it's
It's
a
over.
repeat, and
Yeah,
they have
it's like
yet to figure that out, but
well, they figured it out in the regular season, but just not in the
exactly,
playoffs,
but
unfortunately. But it's what it is. I mean, there's different things happen in this game, but I feel like at the same time, like, the Chiefs also played their best game of the season, in that AFC Championship game in a lot of
yeah,
ways. It was their most
that's
complete game on both sides
crazy.
of the ball.
Yeah, it's like if you look at that game and then you watch the Super
The
Bowl, it's
Super
like that
Bowl.
looks like 2 different teams. Like, that was not the team that we beat the
Yeah,
Buffalo Bills, which
what
is
do you think,
crazy.
like I guess, like, maybe this might be a good way to, like, kinda end the thing, but, like, what do you like, why did it feel like Tampa, like, was it how did the O-line, like, get exposed in that game and not 2 weeks ago? Like, how did all the wheels fall off the wagon in one game? Like, that's the part
That's
that
what I'm trying to think. Yeah, because it's like, is it just the pressure of it? But the Chiefs, since they've been in this position so many times, I feel like they've been really good, and they've always talked about making the moment not feel bigger than it is, and just staying humble and realizing at the end of the day, this is just a football game.
Right.
I don't know. I
They're
really just
better.
have to give credit to Philly's defense
Yeah.
and what they did, because I don't know.
Because the Chiefs are probably better equipped to like handle that kind of pressure because they've been in it like every year. Most teams don't.
Right,
So like I don't
right.
think it was a mental thing. I mean, I know Mahomes had some stuff going on with his personal life, but I
Mhm.
think it was just Philly's like the baby and his grandfather.
Yeah,
But the defense from Philly, like you can't win if you don't have time to throw. He just didn't have time to throw. The Phillies
right.
defense was all over him. They're hitting him, sacking him, pressuring him. I mean, he also threw a couple picks, but like he was rushed. Like but he just even if you take away the picks and everything, he just had no time to throw. And then even if he did, the receivers couldn't get open. I would have to say like Philly's defense was the game changer because I mean they created a lot of turnovers and they did that against Washington. And then on offense, I would say that Kansas City, they didn't have a good run game. In this game they kind of like they didn't really even go to it. In the past game they had a variety of weapons, which I was excited about. I was like, they can go here, they can go to Worthy, Hopkins, and like they've whatever, like they can figure it out. They but like Philly basically just like I don't know, because they didn't have a run game. Like the Philly just got after them in the past, and then on the flip side, the Chiefs defense, they tried, but like it's just I don't know. Basically, they tried to shut down Saquon like so hard that basically the pass they kind of did what I wanted them to do and like let Jalen Hurts try to win the game and take your chances. But like they but that's basically what he did. He found the receivers. The coverage wasn't all the best. Like it's like Spags brought all the you can only blitz so many times. When they didn't blitz, they weren't able to stop them through the air. And you take Saquon off the equation, but like the Eagles had everything else going for them. And yeah, I mean, I think the Eagles. I think a lot of it has to do with like maybe the Chiefs. Like in some ways, like maybe it was a way of like saying like yeah, like they won a lot of games and like like iffy ways, and maybe like it all came crashing down. But I think a lot more of it is like that the Eagles just. I think it's a combination of the Chiefs maybe weren't as good as people thought, but more so like the Eagles were just so much better than like any other team because of the way they constructed it. I think that's what really the difference maker was. Because if Buffalo was in that game, I think the Eagles would also blow them out, maybe even worse. So you know
Yeah,
what I mean? I
I
feel
know
like
a
it's
lot of people had different thoughts on that. They were like, if the Bills got in it, would they have beat the Eagles? I don't know. Personally, I don't think
yeah.
so. I
I don't
think
think
that
they
it
would
would.
have even been able to stop Saquon Barkley to be like
Yeah,
completely
no,
honest. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, but again, like the big Chiefs fan that I am, still, I give all the credit to Philly because
Yeah,
they
you have to.
completely, I mean, deserved the win. Defense, Jalen Hurts, and I am happy for him because I did want to see him get a
Yeah.
ring.
I want
Actually,
to see him succeed. He's another one of those guys. Like he's a good guy, and he was.
right?
He also kind of like what you're saying. The Chiefs could get their get back. Like like he took it personally, and the Eagles like that kind of fueled them to like get their revenge because they lost 2 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there was a video that, or there was a TikTok that I saw where Hertz was walking into the stadium or something, and then he looked up at the TV, and it was when all the commentators there picked the Chiefs to win, and he looked up
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's
No,
like, "Yeah, yeah,
violence.
you guys are gonna see."
Yeah, and then Mahomes like he wore a green suit to like try to. Did he do that to like try to troll the Eagles? But then like he couldn't wear it on the way out, and then Eagles fans were like, "Oh, where's the green suit?" Because like that was like. Did he say that he went like we wore a green suit before the game, and then like
I didn't
or
see
whatever?
that.
Oh no,
Uh-uh.
he did. It feels. I don't feel like he's the type of guy who's like as much as people hate him, like he's not like that arrogant. Like he's actually very humble and
No,
like
he's so humble, and
yeah,
all the foundations that he has
yeah,
here, all of the places he's invested. We got a Whataburger here
yeah,
because of him.
right
He's
from
invested in the Royals and Kansas
exactly.
City Current, his wife, Sporting KC. Like, there's so
Yeah.
many things he's
He's such a
done.
he's not like and even like he's I mean he's not even like the biggest like trash talk, just the way he answers the questions. Like they try to throw him like a BS question like what do you send the refs like for like who's your favorite ref, and he answered that so humbly. And Kelsey
He
kind of
is,
like gave them a hard time because he was just like he was not having the question about Kelsey like Taylor Swift versus the phantom penalty, which I thought was funny because the reporter was trying to just troll the heck out of them. But he's like the kind of guy who like talks more trash. Like Mahomes is like the calm one. Like I would never understand like why people hate him so much. And like I mean like
no.
especially with Eagles fans like trying to like hang like the frog. Like I just feel like
And
that
the
was
voodoo doll,
what
that was insane. The
I
voodoo doll,
know,
did you see that getting
ridiculous.
poked at it? Like, you don't have to do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's crazy,
it
but
goes
at the
way
end of
too
the day,
far.
yeah, he's just a humble guy. He's a humble
Exactly.
quarterback who has worked his way up.
Yeah, and
He
he doesn't
earns.
like brag about it. He's never like, "Oh, I'm the best," and like, and he's like not like he's like the farthest thing from that. If like you watch his like interviews or whatever. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of it's just that they're the Chiefs and like whatever, and they win and the refs and I don't even think it's like I don't even think it's really that personal or it should be that personal. But for whatever
I don't.
reason, it gets like seen as that because he's like the face of their team and they win and he gets calls like but that's not even his fault either if he's not like
Right.
for
Yeah, he's not the one throwing the
the
call. And then also in the Super Bowl, obviously there were some controversial calls going both ways, but
right,
the one where it was like the face mask on Mahomes and all this other stuff. But I feel like no one talks about the refs
exactly a lot of
when
yeah
teams don't win. So it's like, I don't know. I've
exactly.
never understood that. I
Yeah,
get
and
that there's
Eagles
some
fans were so
calls.
happy that like Jalen Carter punched Mahomes in the face, and they didn't even
Right.
call that. And I'm like, was this really about the refs, guys? Like, I mean, I know like I'm just trying to like prove a point, but like it's just like everyone's like the refs, and then like they're celebrating. They're like, we should like hang this picture up that like he punched Mahomes in the face and like got. I mean, I know it was like wasn't intentional like that or whatever, but like I'm
It's
like, why
not
are you
class.
celebrating? What? Yeah,
Right.
like he did. Like they already hit him, and like I mean, okay, like the play happens, like it's like not that big of a deal, but like the fact that you guys are celebrating him, it just shows that you like hate him as like I mean, you hate the Chiefs. It's not that like it's the refs because like like
Yeah.
you didn't say like oh they should have given him a penalty. So it's just like what I mean. Like it's just they hate the Chiefs. Like if it was the other way around, they punched Jalen in the face. Like obviously it would have been a big deal. But like the fact that it was Mahomes, everyone's like oh haha, like they got him and like whatever. I'm so yeah whatever. Like it's fine that like that happened I guess, but like they should have called a penalty. But I don't. The game was over at the same
Right.
time, like it's just ridiculous that you guys are celebrating this kind of behavior and like hanging him and like the Bills fans who did that are like no better, by the way. But like I mean, it's just ridiculous that they did that kind of stuff. Like, and I would say the same thing if it was like Philly, if they did that, if Chiefs fans did that with Jalen Hurts, I'd say the same thing. Like
Mhm.
that's ridiculous. Like I don't care like what
Because
team.
it's still people are people at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
we're all
exactly.
humans.
Yeah, but anyway, I mean, there's a lot of bad apples, but there's also a lot of respectful like fans on,
Right.
on Philly and like on every team. But yeah, I mean, well, it is what it is. I guess we move on to 2025, the next season. But
Yes.
yeah, but it was it was really nice like having you on. Like we talked a lot about a bunch of different stuff, like like
Mhm.
your career stuff and sports, and I feel like we both really like got a lot of thoughts out about the Chiefs and like just like being a fan or like the Super Bowl and like I feel like there's
Mhm.
like we kind of like almost like got along, so it's definitely really good like having you on. Like I'd be down to like if we ever want to like come back, we could do another one like later
Yeah,
on, or if you wanted to have me on yours like I was mentioning, like
for sure.
yeah, we could definitely talk about that. But I mean, yeah, in the meantime, it's been nice having you on. Obviously, I'll get back to like the usual episode, like maybe if not next week, probably the week after. We'll do like whatever's going on in sports. But yeah, like I said, thanks for coming on, and yeah, like I said, we'll maybe do it again. I'll definitely, put this out on socials and stuff. But in the meantime,
Yeah.
this has been, episode 8 of Just Vibing. As always, enjoy the week, and I will see you guys next time.